Thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a great mix of vantage points and perspectives, and we'll be talking about institutional flows into digital assets. I mean, this is not new, but 2025 is shaping up to be a very different year. And I want to hear about the latest trends of the products, the instruments, the assets. Where are people putting their money? And as institutional adoption makes crypto more mainstream, where are we going to see this go? So, Tim, I would like to start with you. Who are the new institutional investors in the space? And are you seeing more interest from more traditional players? And what are they investing in?
Great. Thanks, Lane. Thanks for everyone for coming. Looking forward to the next few days here at Token 2049. And it's certainly an exciting time for institutional adoption in crypto. I feel like every year we're here, we say it's better than last year, and it's true again this year, right? When we look at the acceleration of institutional adoption, the way we look at it is not necessarily just the expansion of products and the interrelatedness between futures and ETFs and the ecosystem. But if we look at open interest as a proxy for institutional adoption, we've seen continued acceleration where when we look at Q3 of 2025, it's tremendous. At CME Group, we're seeing about an average open interest of between $30 $35 billion per day. Just last month in September, we topped out at almost $40 billion a day of open interest. And then when we look at August, we're also seeing upwards of $15 billion per day trade at CME Group, and that's about 200% plus year over year in terms of that increase, almost 100% doubling of open interest by US dollar terms and open positions at CME Group. But I think what's more exciting is when you drill down and see where they're going, there's kind of two trends that we are very interested and kind of very happy to see. One is while crypto is hot, certainly Ether is hot at CME Group. I mean, we've certainly seen record open interest, record trading volume, both in the standard size and micro size contract. And when we look at the new futures that we recently introduced this year, XRP and SOL, they are also enjoying this institutional adoption where the open interest in those are having record highs on some of the record prices that we've seen. But I think the most interesting stat we've seen is the way CME Group, or one of the most interesting stats is the way CME Group has climbed the league table for XRP open interest in dollar terms. And it's been expansive. So it's a growth versus growth story, I feel like, with our new futures. But then when we look at SOL, it's really interesting the speed at which it is accumulating open interest. So if we look at SOL, it took about 5 months to hit the $1 billion mark, compared to Ether, which took about 8 months. Bitcoin took 3 years. And then SOL is the fastest one to go from 1 billion to 2 billion after and it just launched a few months back.
Wow.
So I think when you look at some of those things, those are the interesting trends of where investors are putting their money, but I think also reinforces the interrelatedness of the ecosystem growth.
Great, and I want to ask more about SOL and XRP in a bit, but Hunter, let me come to you. Bitwise is moving very fast in the crypto ETF world. Are mainstream investors ready, or are we still mostly talking about more crypto native managers?
2025 is the beginning of the mainstream era for crypto. Absolutely. I think for the first, Bitwise has been around for 7-8 years, feels like forever. And I'll give you an anecdote. There's a bank in the US that manages over $1 trillion. We've met with them 50 times in the last 3 years. And they finally approved a crypto fund, a Bitwise fund, for the first time in July of 2025. And it's not because they weren't aware of it before, it's because the change in regulatory uncertainty and the presence of instruments like ETFs finally make it possible for them to have the will and the way. So I think absolutely you're seeing more and more instruments from actually everyone on this panel. So there's a lot of ways. And for the first time, mainstream investors from wealth management to sovereigns to hedge funds to institutional asset owners and retirement accounts are all engaging and stepping forward. It won't all play through this year. It's the beginning, but we've definitely entered a new chapter.
Great, and Heath, coming to you, Of course, stable coins are dominating conversations these days. Some have called this the stablecoin summer, but that also means everyone is jumping into it. Banks launching tokenized deposits, real world asset tokenization, an area a lot of people are interested in. And of course, stable coins pose a challenge to retail banking. Are you also competing with the more traditional players out there, the banks or the retail giants who could launch their own stablecoins?
Yeah, we don't see it that way at Circle. In fact, we think we're the ideal partners for banks. And one of the things that's held institutional flows back for so many years has been legal and regulatory certainty. So now you see, Elaine, around the world, regulators, policymakers, legislatures, executives are recognizing the power of stablecoins to literally put money on the web, on blockchains, on Web3. And so that very big development in making sure that we have Web3 money effectively backed one for one, like USDC and Circle, has made institutional flows possible. As far as the banks go, this is a great opportunity. Remember, Circle has billions and billions of dollars in reserves that we put right back into the banking system. My view on this is that stablecoins aren't really competitors to banks. They don't innately pay interest, right? At least payment stablecoins that are recognized legally, but really they're a pathway to other types of assets. So if you're a bank, you want to be able to integrate with a stablecoin like USDC, other global stablecoins, so you can start offering tokenized versions of your lending and other products, right? So for the banks, I think the real challenge is making sure that they're not left behind as more and more the financial system moves on chain, and 2025 is the birth of the new internet financial system.
Cool. And Richard, coming to you now. Similarly, I want to ask about Binance's positioning now. It's becoming more institutional facing, partnering with Franklin Templeton, while also competing with decentralized exchanges. I don't know if you see Aster, Hyperliquid, those as competitors, but how is Binance positioning itself, straddling both worlds?
Well, so if I can just start first, because this is home ground for me, I'm from Singapore. I just want to greet all my fellow Singaporeans. Hello, Singapore. Singapore. 大家好. So I just want to make sure that I send my love and greetings to Singapore first on that front. But going back to your question, right? So the first point, I didn't quite agree with Hunter. Hunter said 2025 is the year of institutionalization. I would say it started in 2024 because that's the year where ETF starts to be approved. You start to get regulatory clarity. The likes of BlackRock, Charles Schwab, Fidelity all start to embrace that. So the narrative has shifted quite a fair bit, and then Circle got listed. So you see all the crypto companies starting to go mainstream last year. For us, last year was a very big year for institutions. We saw more than double in terms of institutional onboarding. And that momentum carry on into this year, right? So it's very robust. I would say from our vantage point, because we have about 300 million users globally, from our vantage point, the first wave are mostly the trading desks, right? So the traditional trading desks that say, hey, look, this is an interesting and exciting asset class. They can do cross-asset class trading. They can do position taking, hedging, etc., etc. So those first wave, we see a huge uptick. And then that followed by many of the corporates, foundation trusts, family office coming through to do allocation. We have countries, sovereigns starting to do allocations. We have just announced Kazakhstan working with Binance Kazakhstan, starting their own strategic reserve on that front. So we have different countries approaching us by virtue of the depth of our marketplace, right? So if you believe in best execution, best bid-ask spread, Binance is the place to be because we have the deepest liquidity. So you have countries approaching us. So we see that huge uptake. And institutionalization has started to happen and happens at a quite rapid pace, right? So in terms of product and services, we have different people approaching us on different things. You mentioned Franklin Templeton. That's one of the things that we have signed on, and we have many institution partners now approaching us on different form of collaboration and partnerships, right? So on that front. And also we have banks and securities firms saying that, hey, I want to allow my users to get exposure to crypto, but I don't have the infrastructure to do it. So we just launched this week what we call crypto as a service. So it's a white labeling solution to allow banks, securities houses, payment companies, if they wish to retain their clients, to do all the KYC that they need, but make use of our infrastructure, right? So they can trade spot, futures, custody, there's proper settlement, et cetera, on our platform. So they make use of all the infrastructure that we have and global liquidity that we have on that front. So it is very exciting days. You mentioned the likes of DeFi. I believe both centralized exchange and decentralized exchange will continue to grow. They appeal to slightly different crowd. For example, for all the institutions that have strict compliance requirements, it's very difficult for them to go DEX on that front, right? They probably don't pass their compliance checks on that. But what we aim to do at Binance is really be the best platform to serve the best of both and bring together the best of both centralized and decentralized, what we call CDFI on that front, right? So we have launched many different product suites on that front, including our Web3 wallet, Binance Alpha, that's extremely popular, and we will continue to launch new products to serve our users.
Cool. And yeah, I want to talk about corporate participation in crypto, where we are really seeing traditional capital markets and the Wild West of crypto colliding, perhaps. So, Tim, you talked about planning to launch options on Solana, XRP futures. As more institutions, more people invest in altcoins, how do you approach your role bridging the highly regulated markets with digital assets? Is it about more hedging tools, risk management? Are you competing with likes of Binance on this front? Yeah, how do you approach filling this void or that role of a bridge?
Yeah, so when we look at the role and how we facilitate the various needs of the financial ecosystem, and you mentioned sort of corporates and folks starting to wade into that, I think what we do at CME Group and what we do well is our approach to these various asset classes and markets is a little bit universal, regardless of the nuance of the asset class. So we've been in crypto now for 8 years, with the Bitcoin futures launching back in 2017. And what we're seeing now is that wanting not only for hedging, as people have long inventory or term structure exposure to some of these assets, they need to hedge that in a much more traditional sense against the asset-specific rebate or idiosyncratic risks in that market. And doing that with futures alongside the digital asset position is a great time-tested strategy. But what we also see is the need for increased capital efficiencies. So as people are figuring out how to either monetize or get some value out of the long inventory, the market is starting to figure some of that out. We saw that, for example, the Bitcoin basis has been around for years. It ebbs and flows, but there's still a fundamental need. If I'm long the digital asset, how can I free up capital associated with that to participate in that growing interrelated market? What does that mean for spot versus futures versus ETFs? And I think that's where we're also seeing that need from the market of not only do they want to hedge that forward term structure of the individual assets, whether that's through options or futures, or if it's use of things like USDC for collateral or prime services, all of these things that we've seen in traditional finance, people are trying to figure out how to unlock some of that same efficiency and access to markets that we are now seeing in crypto. So I think it's both. I think it's hedging, I think it's access. And I think when we look at everyone up on this stage, it's like, yeah, sometimes we compete, but I think more often we're collaborating and trying to figure out how can we grow this market for everybody. And like I said earlier, it's really a growth versus growth story. And if you look at our firms on this stage, the capital efficiencies, the interrelatedness of all of our various products, if we can figure this out together, I think it's going to be great for the industry for decades to come.
Okay, and wanted to ask more about this role of a bridge to pose this question to you, Heath. You recently, how do you approach that here at Circle? And you've explored making USDC transactions reversible. Recently, there are some reports about that. Can you share more on your thinking on that? And I mean, is it possible to have it both ways when these worlds are colliding, the traditional financial guardrails and the original promises of blockchain? I know it gets a bit philosophical, but I want to know sort of in terms of practical applications, Yeah, can you have it both ways, and you can share more thinking on the
Yes.
reversible?
So the immutability of blockchain transactions is absolutely critical. So Circle is exploring where we're creating a new blockchain called ARC. And one of the things that we've actually doubled down on is deterministic sub-second finality. So in other words, the blockchain that we're looking to build actually doubles down on immutability and deterministic, ensuring that it's absolutely critical that the transaction, once it goes through, is immutable forever. That is distinct from thinking about potential applications on top of that blockchain that is immutable, deterministic, and final for all time, for the possibility of something like fraud or other scenarios where people want to actually reverse the transaction, not, again, unwind an immutable transaction, but rather have a protocol that folks opt into to take into account chargebacks and counter transactions, and hence potentially reverse the transaction. Again, not making it non-immutable, but rather having the opportunity to build on layers of programmable money and protocols that folks can use to solve real world issues. And so what we've done with ARC is we've asked the community as a whole, this community, as well as the TradFi community, what are the attributes of blockchains that you would like to see? One of the things was, of course, we need actually more finality. We need to know that immediately when we send money across the blockchain, it will actually be validated, and we need to know it beyond a reasonable doubt. We can't have probabilistic determinations when you're talking about billions of dollars. We also want a privacy layer in some cases to make sure that our transactions, if we're a trading firm, are confidential. And another thing that's come up is the idea that if we're going to have wholesale consumer payments, for example, over a blockchain, we'd like to have some of the ability to charge back if all the parties agree, like we do with regular credit card transactions. So it's important that we make that distinction. The blockchain is absolutely immutable. USDC is not reversed at the whim of anyone. But if the parties want to engage in a protocol that is optional to allow some facilitation, that's something we're exploring.
So sort of a more ring-fenced, isolated application?
It's an application, absolutely. We want to make sure that that blockchain is absolutely solid. And again, with Circle's blockchain, ARC, we actually want to double down on the immutability concept.
Cool. And I want to shift gears a bit to one of the hot topics of the day, digital asset treasury companies. And I want to get your thoughts on this model, where this is going. Are they here to stay? Any risks associated with them, especially when market sentiments change? Richard, given your regulatory background, I'm curious for your thoughts.
Keith as well, you know. Keith, we are both regulators.
Yes.
Yeah. So this again is part of mainstreaming that we're seeing, right? So last year was a year of ETFs, I would say. This year we see a lot of DATs, right? Digital assets, treasuries coming through, because there's huge demand, and the uptake is very, very strong. So by today, you probably have about 200 different companies listed around the world that have announced DATs. We still see very robust take-up, because I think at this juncture, everybody believes we are still at a very early stage of development in terms of crypto adoption. Today is probably about 7.5%. So if you look at the tipping curve, once you reach that threshold, and with government support, I mean, the US being the largest economy is extremely bullish and supportive of crypto and blockchain industry, wants to be the crypto capital of the world. And you have the different asset managers starting to allocate. The financial institutions are now all having their own trading desks and experimenting on that front. So there is a very bullish momentum on that front, right? So would more be coming through? I would think so. I mean, we have a lot of different listed companies that have reached out to us on their intention to set up corporate treasuries on that front, right? So, but even if they do not become a dedicated DAT in many sense, you have many corporate treasuries starting to look at allocating into this space, right? 5% of their treasuries, 10% of their treasuries. So there's a big trend going forward. Risks, definitely there are risks. So you have to manage risk well, both in terms of your risk management measures as well as cybersecurity risks, right? So some of those risks cannot be underestimated. So in our conversations with many of these companies, we believe that many of them have spent a lot of time, energy looking at their own risk management models, including market risk and volatility models. So I think at this juncture, we still see a lot of interest globally from listed companies around the world trying to adopt this trend.
And Hunter, I'll ask for your thoughts on DATs, and also, are institutional buyers increasingly looking into this, or is it still mostly retail? And yeah, what do you think of them?
I think DATs are fantastic. If I may, could I get a show of hands of everyone who owns a share of a DAT? Okay, interesting. From my vantage point, the way things work in crypto is you get innovation, and the way innovation looks is people try a dozen new things, and then we discover through that which ones will succeed and endure. And I think DATs are right now running a very valuable and important experiment. I think that they stand to provide two really valuable things to the space. The first is they can bring voice and a power user to many ecosystems. So if you're Forward, for instance, and you have a 1.6 billion of Solana, and you're very enmeshed in understanding the underlying Solana ecosystem, you can become one of the power users of that ecosystem. And I think that that is really helpful to the development of an ecosystem. And of course, there are DATs now for Avalanche and Ethereum and a variety of things. On the other end of the spectrum, I think everyone in this room is probably very aware of this, but capital markets are massive and they're diverse. So what do I mean by that? We're chatting with a sovereign wealth fund who's interested in buying Bitcoin, but it's going to take them about 6 months to get through the process. So they own shares of MicroStrategy now. We were just approved at a $1 trillion bank in the US, their wealth management division. It's the first time they have access to a Bitcoin ETF. A lot of them have used DATs, MicroStrategy and others to get exposure. There is an article in the Wall Street Journal about Mark Casey, the portfolio manager at Capital Group, who's the largest owner of MicroStrategy. Mark is absolutely fantastic. If you ask him, his mutual fund is only allowed to invest in equities. So he has a lot of conviction on Bitcoin, but he can't buy Bitcoin. So this allows him to express that view. So how does that all come together? I think it provides more apertures, more bridges for investors to participate and have ways of participating in the space. And I think that's very good for this maturing as a vibrant and robust capital market. And then I think for the ecosystems themselves, what a fantastic thing to have these voices representing and in telling the story and educating around the underlying ecosystems, but then also in a position to become users, be it staking or on-chain activities. So I think it's an absolutely wonderful thing. And like so many of the great things in crypto, would have been hard to predict and will take some time to play through, but very, very excited about the emergence of DATs.
So the value add being less for retail buyers who can quite easily buy tokens, but maybe more for those whose mandate's a lot more strict.
Yeah, I think both.
Cool. And turning to another connector of the digital and traditional side of things, stablecoins. And Heath, I want to come to you on that. US regulations, the industry is very excited about that. Of course, today the top news is the government shut down. Not sure how much that will impact crypto legislation that the industry is awaiting. But I want to ask about how will these dollar-backed, treasury-backed stablecoins actually affect the dollar? Will it reinforce dollar dominance, and how?
Yeah, so the US dollar is a really important international currency. It's the world's reserve currency. There are people all around the world that would love to have access to dollars, particularly in a market like this, where Singapore is connected with other countries all over the world, in Asia and in Latin America, and ultimately the medium of exchange is US dollars. But the problem, of course, is it's very difficult to have dollar banking, dollar access. You have to go through correspondent banking. That's become very troubled in recent years. So stable coins, and particularly a US dollar one-for-one backed stable coin issued out of the United States like USDC, is a way to be able to send dollars seamlessly and securely anywhere in the world, 24/7, as easy as it sends an email. And so in many ways, it's not going to sort of expand the dollar necessarily as a medium of exchange, but just simply reinforce its role. Everyone who now needs dollars, is trying to get their hands on dollars, can actually get their hands on dollars. So it's a really important way of allowing companies to save tons of money, time, and effort in expanding. But there is a link to institutional flows that I think is worth talking about, which is the more traditional companies get their hands on stable coins, they're using them for treasury management, they're using them to buy and sell goods and services. Ultimately, they're going to probably take some of those stable coins and say, well, we need to diversify into other digital assets. The same is true, of course, with those folks like all of you that are buying digital assets. You're ultimately going to say it's far more efficient for me to buy and sell digital assets using stable coins. And so it's really the important point here, I think, is that stable coins are really a pathway for institutions to get into the larger digital assets sphere.
And on that, how do you see real world asset tokenization? I think there are many stages, right? You start with the dollar and then maybe bonds, stocks. What is really the game changer here when it comes to our WA tokenization? What's the sexy part that people are waiting for? Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I think as Heath said, I think one of the things that, including myself, that people are enamored with the topic of tokenization is it helps remove frictions from fundamental and foundational markets. And the innovation that people want is, I think it's an expressing of that view of there are markets out there that still can be more efficient. So do you sort of combine or marry some of the technological developments of blockchain, tokenization of real world assets, the more frictionless movement of money 24/7? So I think that is all great. And I think we're certainly working with the market to figure out what does that mean for the next few years. And as Hunter was saying, sometimes, a lot of things will get tried. We're not sure what will be successful. But the one thing that I would encourage people to also think about is, I think in tokenization, that's going to be another area where when we look at innovation and regulation through the same lens. And what I mean by that is that, so my background is an equity trader, so I like to always use this as an example, is sure, tokenization of equities sounds great. What does it get you, though, that digital book entry of stocks in the US doesn't get you? What problem are we solving besides sort of maybe making it a little bit easier? And then there are fundamental questions of what does it do to the underlying asset? Do you have voting rights? Do you get dividends? Like, is it someone holding that stock somewhere in trust of that tokenized receipt? And then if you do that for other assets, again, it's what's those things with provenance that need to be maintained on the ledger. I think we need to think about all of those facets, particularly when you look at it on the international front, to make sure that we're innovating in a right way that helps remove the frictions, because I think that's been a long story to all of our success in financial markets. But I think that's something for tokenization. We have to make sure we're also thinking about that now. So if something is successful, if one of those 12 things does work, that we make sure it works for the long term.
Yes, I want to ask about regulation and innovation. Just based on all the conversations I've been having here, there's a sense that the center of gravity with the industry is tilting a bit more towards the US now, with regulation coming out of the US. Where do you see the real centers of innovation and investments, and perhaps regulations even setting the standards happening geographically? Because we talk about crypto, digital assets being global and borderless, but they do have to meet these real world regulations on the ground. So where do you see real innovation coming from in the coming, say, year? I want to ask this to all of the panelists. Maybe I'll stay on with you, Tim, if you can just, because since you were talking a bit about that.
I think it's hard to predict the exact future, but I think what we've been asking for and talking about it for years is, from a US perspective, we want that regulatory clarity and certainty, and I think we're certainly getting it. we're able to introduce more products. We're seeing more companies try to innovate in this space. So I don't know what geographic region it will come from, but I do think the clarity and certainty we're getting from a more common sense approach and framework in the US will certainly embolden a lot more innovation and investment. But I think the one thing that's great about this community and ecosystem is the collaboration across geographies. And I think that's something where even if just the conversations we're all going to have the next few days, I think you will see that of what is the combined innovative force that doesn't necessarily respect one geographic boundary or another, but as long as it comports with their individual country's regulation framework, I think you'll actually see a lot of things that are willing to try. So maybe we try 15 instead of 12,
Right.
soon, but I think it's got to work for both.
And yeah, Hunter, if you have thoughts you want to contribute.
Yeah, I think it may not be the most surprising or interesting to people, but I think the U.S. has sprinted to pushing the line forward. I think Chair Atkins and Commissioner Peirce and the SEC staff and Chair Pham and the CFTC, just incredible pace and openness to trying to figure out how to foster innovation and clarity in the U.S. I think other governments and regulators around the world are taking note of that. So we operate in Europe as well, and in the UK, the FCA has had a ban on crypto ETPs for as long as I can remember, and that ban is lifting on October 8th. So the UK will have access to ETPs for the first time. So I don't think it's just a US story. I think it's just that recently the US has really changed its status. And I just wanted to touch on one other thing that Tim said that I was thinking throughout this panel. I think sometimes if people are on Twitter or other places, there's a lot of conversation about this versus that. And I hope that everyone has in their minds that the story of this space is actually everyone in this room and on this panel versus the world, and versus nothing happening and nothing changing. And sort of as I was listening to the answers on the panel, I was sort of inspired because you can see how many talented people are working to solve problems, to drive things forward. And I hope that that's people's mindset, which is that the ships of this space are going to rise together, and there's an incredible number of people working to advance things. And of course, that pertains to different jurisdictions' approaches to regulation now, but certainly the projects in this space.
And are we going to see some sort of chat GPT moment equivalent in the crypto world? I mean, has that already happened, perhaps in a different form? Or even out of Asia, could there be like its own version, maybe the equivalent of some sort of DeepSeek moment in crypto from this region? What do you think, Richard?
Well, I just want to go back to the point that you make just now on regulatory clarity and innovation. The two does not equate to each other, right? So my view is that for the longest time, this particular asset class has been embraced by retail, and the institutions have been pushing back. The regulators were sitting on the sideline to say that it will go away, you will not go mainstream, etc. But that has changed last year, right? So regulatory clarity does not equate to innovation, because innovation has been taking place all these years, right? From ICOs to DeFi Summit, etc., right? So innovation will continue to advance at a very rapid speed throughout the world, regardless of whether that part of the world are giving it regulatory clarity. But what is happening now is the US is giving huge regulatory clarity, huge support. So you see a huge wave of institutional adoption and deployment, and you're going to see much more product features coming through on the institution front. So that's what we're going to see. But innovation is going to happen throughout the world, because the rest of the world is looking at what the US is doing on that front and say, hey, if you want to make sure that you continue to bring in foreign direct investments, bring the best of talents to be based there, you need to catch up or match and surpass what the US is trying to do in this space, right? So I do think there's a fair bit of global competition that's going to take place on that front as each country is trying to improve its competitive edge, right? So that's what I'm going to see. What else in terms of innovation? It is too difficult to predict. This space is like AI space, right? The best and the brightest are working. Every day you have new things coming through on this front. So it is very difficult to predict. What we can do is to make sure that we monitor all the developments very closely. We do a watching brief for each of the segments that we are monitoring, which are the ones that is gaining a lot of traction, which are the ones that both institutions and retail investors are, having many interest in. So those are the things that we are doing as a platform. And as the largest ecosystem in blockchain, we want to make sure that we are supportive of all these different pockets of innovation coming through.
And Heath, yes, coming to
I wanted to
you.
go back to your question about where will this thrive? Where will we have it? And I think Circle was founded 12 years ago on a very mission-driven basis, which is the idea that if we build this new internet financial system and Web3, it will not only be a technology that makes things more efficient and effective, but it will fundamentally transform the way the world works. It will transform human interaction. It will actually increase prosperity for all. And you see this up here. You see all of this. All of this is the human imagination put to work in a way that has benefited us all. Regulatory clarity and sound regulation and the embracing of this innovation was by no means a foregone conclusion. I sat in Washington. I was a regulator. And it was only because folks like all of you, 25,000 strong here at Token 2049, and the millions of other people around the world that understand that this technology made your voice heard. Made it heard in the United States, made it heard in Asia, in Europe, and elsewhere. And so I think that's absolutely critically important. This will thrive only if we demonstrate that this technology is here to stay, and there's a massive amount of people supporting it and want it to grow.
Okay, and a quick last one for all of you, just before we go. I'm curious, what are you trying to get a better sense of while you're here that is something perhaps more undercurrent, not what's sort of screaming out loud in the headlines? Is there something that you're really trying to find out more from this conference, if each of you can just quickly share that? Richard?
There are many smart people out there, smarter than myself. So I'm here to learn and see, what's your next big idea in terms of crypto and blockchain, and whether we can be supportive of those.
Okay, Hunter.
We have clients out here, and I'm very curious what's top of mind and in focus for them, and is that the same or different than clients in the US and Europe?
Okay, yeah, that's very interesting. And Tim?
Yeah, I think similar to what Richard was saying is I think what I'm most interested in learning is what I don't know yet. When I come here, the conversations are great, the panels, all the events, the next few evenings, the lunches. I think just really figuring out what people are interested in, where we should be focusing next. And I was really looking forward to learn, like I think most people here.
Very similar. As we build the world's largest and most widely used stablecoin network, and as we build an enterprise-grade L1 blockchain, we want to hear from all of you. We want you to be participants in what we're building. So we want to understand what you feel you need to continue to grow your businesses and your endeavors.
Okay, so that's about all the time we have for today. So a big thank you to our panelists, and thank you all to our audience as well for joining.
There we go.
Aquaman, how are you, bro?
I'm good. How you living, brother?
It's been a good week.
I've been sick, to be honest with you, so I'm feeling better for the first time. And yeah, I'm grateful to just be healthy again, man. When you get sick, you forget like how great it is to just be healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. There's a lot of things. Sometimes you got to check yourself, just remind yourself, humble yourself, and be like, damn, there's somebody out there that has it a lot worse than I do.
Facts, bro. Facts.
Yeah, man, this week was actually really productive. I don't really want to talk about my week because who fucking cares at the end of the day, right? And sometimes it sounds a little conceited when I talk about the shit that I accomplished. People don't want to hear that. So my week was good, bro.
Yeah, it was great. I feel you.
Everybody's, freaking out about the markets. As a day trader, I love this blood because, I can trade, and it's been great.
Yeah. Making money out the markets, baby. The market's money, baby.
Yeah, it's been great, bro. So yeah, I have so much to share today, dude. There's like so much going on right now that people need to like Just lock in, man. It's really hard right now in today's day and age to convince people of where we're headed and where we're going. But it's crazy because all the information is literally right there. It's just nobody wants to pay attention to it.
Yeah, facts. They just want those dopamine hits, the impatient mindset. When is price gonna moon? When is price gonna go here? Why is it this number now? Just nonsense questions that are gonna run you into, brick walls.
Social media right now is probably one of the most toxic things that you could partake in if you aren't tapped into actual educational content, because the people's content that are fixated on just stimulating your dopamine right now, man, they're getting so many people wrecked left and right.
Facts, bro. Facts.
Wild times, bro. Did you have anything that you wanted to go through in today's? I know we didn't get to talk before the podcast to kind of orchestrate this, especially because you've been sick all week. So I got a lot of stuff to go through. And so,
Yeah, bro, I've been down for the count, bro. So yeah, I don't really have much, really, to be honest with you. So
no, it's all
Yeah.
good because I got a lot, bro. So
okay.
while I'm spitting the juice, we'll do the same thing that we did last time where we'll just mix you in and read some of the posts that I have so we can share conversation
Yeah.
on it. And then same with the videos, guys. Today I got a freaking ton of videos, lots of great juice to deliver for you guys to get the mindset right before the weekend. So yeah, let's hit it off with the intro. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Wealth 28 Club podcast. I'm your host, CyberX, here with my co-host, Mr. Aquaman, who's finally feeling a lot better. Dude had the flu earlier this week. I remember calling you, bro, on Tuesday or Wednesday, and you were like dying, my dude.
Literally dying, bro. The headache from hell, sweating, body ache, man, nausea. The nausea was on a different level too. Oh my God, man.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's glad to see that you're better, bro, for real. For real.
Yeah, nah, I'm feeling better. I hit the gym, right back at it. I literally haven't taken any days off in like over 20 days. I've been going to the gym every single day, at least an hour. So yeah, me getting sick, he gave me a 2-day rest, but I'm right back at it. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing, bro. Yeah, so in today's video, guys and gals, we are going to talk about first the landscape in which we're operating in. I want to first kind of show you guys just kind of what's been going around behind the scenes. Some people have noticed, some people haven't. I'd say that the vast majority of the population have not. So I want to share that information with you guys, and then I want to actually educate you all and talk about why the market's down, get through the boring stuff. But then that'll open a discussion on what the best strategy we believe here in this community is if you are an investor. And that is the utilization of DeFi, right? Using DeFi in a safe, effective manner to grow your bags in times of market volatility and hedge against the downside momentum that we could always experience in the short term. I want to show you guys that these institutions, these large organizations are for a fact sitting in on private door meetings behind the scenes saying that DeFi is the future of finance. I'm going to show you guys some of the largest announcements from the companies and organizations that you guys know and most likely hold some of these digital assets in your portfolio, making these announcements about generating yield and posting digital assets as collateral. And so, just as always, bringing you guys some of the realest information in the game. Me and Aqua, we're never spewing out price predictions or none of that garbage hopium. We're really just trying to educate you guys on the current landscape and give you guys some good insights from institutional perspectives and large industry leading experts' perspectives. So I'm going to start here with this, Aqua. Do you want to do me a favor, bro, and read this one? This was a really good post, I feel like, and this will kick it off for what I have to show you guys today. Let me zoom in.
Yeah, I got you, bro. It says here, people are freaking out because the market is pulling back, but let's keep it real. The IMF just held its annual summit with the World Bank and told the entire world that crypto will play a role in the future of finance because the future of finance is digital. Let that sink in. This isn't the end. Far from it. It's just the beginning of the global transformation. My bad, guys. Pullbacks are part of the journey, but the foundations being built are bigger than any short-term move. Stay calm, stay focused.
So a lot of people don't know this. Some people might, but again, because you're involved in crypto might be the only reason that you probably know that this is going on. Most normal, everyday, average people have no idea that this just took place, right? They're all lined up at the doors right now to buy gold, physical gold at all-time highs, when they should have been buying it back when it was worth $1,800 in 2023, you know?
Big facts.
So the minds of the masses are completely distracted. Meanwhile, the elites, during this pullback, I don't think anything's a coincidence. Mind you, we had a harvest moon in October, right around the time that the market was pulling back. I'm not going to get into astrology or anything like that, but you know, these things are not by accident. They are scheduled months in advance on specific dates for specific reasons at specific times. And while everybody's distracted, this is what the global elites, i.e. the World Bank, the IMF, I actually was able to go inside the World Bank a few times in Washington, D.C. when I was a private contractor out of the military back in like 2018. These are those people that, again, have their hand in global decision making. And this is what they're on stage talking about. Do they seem, when we're playing, I'm going to play some of these video clips, maybe like 4 or 5, where they talk about how Bitcoin was an opportunity for investing, right? They talk about how the future of finance is all going digital. The IMF managing director is asked the question, do you think everything is moving to crypto? And she tried to avoid the question, but worded it in such a way where she said, fiat money is all moving digital, and it would be best not to close your eyes to reality. And I want to play those clips for you guys because it's awakening to what's really happening and how in the moment we can be distracted and manipulated by fear. But if you do the research, we all know where this is headed by 2030 and beyond. So calm, cool, collective, tap in with us this Friday. If you guys are on X, do us a favor, repost this stream for us. If you guys are on YouTube, I don't know if you can repost the stream on YouTube, but that'd be great if you'd smash that thumbs up button. Make sure that you're subscribed to mine and Aqua's YouTubes. So let's tap in. The first one here, the clip that I'm going to play on Aqua, feel free to tap in, bro, after I play these clips if it sparks something that you want to say. Is this lady here. This is, I'm not going to butcher her name. She's, I'm pretty sure, the managing director of the IMF. And listen to what she says about the future of finance here. Mind you, guys,
So it's really great.
hold on. Mind you, again, just to get the brain juices flowing, this is the freaking IMF and the World Bank talking about the future of finance, and it has 3,000 views.
That's not enough, bro. That's not
Like,
enough.
Are you kidding me? 3,000 people?
Hey, you go on YouTube right now. I could show you so many Moon Boy videos that got over 100,000 views. It's crazy.
Nuts, bro. People are just watching the wrong content when everybody should be watching this event. Like, if you haven't gone through and tried to watch at least 2 of the videos that the IMF just dropped from their World Bank meeting, come on, y'all. Try to tap in, try to lock in, or at least know where to find them. Right? If you're in the CyberX community, we talked about this yesterday. These videos, some of them are mandatory. They're talking about AI, talking about jobs, talking about all that stuff in these videos. So check out what she says here.
For us to talk about the future of finance, crypto, regulations, opportunities, risks. Managing Director Georgieva, is the future of finance crypto?
The future of finance, for sure, is digital. We know that digitalization is moving very rapidly. We know from history that finance is very quick to take advantage of technology. Remember the telegraph? Telegraph comes, it impacts finance. Internet, it impacts finance. Now we have a technology, the technology that makes it possible to get blockchain to underpin finance. And I am convinced that we would see a bigger role in the future. I want to make
I'm convinced that it will play a bigger role in the future, and the future of finance is going to be digital. Mind you, she's sitting next to Jeremy Allaire, the CEO of Circle.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's the writings on the wall with that. You can't doubt crypto at all. Digital. I mean, I'm curious to know why she said digital when she said crypto and then she responded with digital. I'm curious to know
Oh,
what her
because they're
mindset is.
scripted, bro.
Yeah, for
They're
sure.
scripted. But she slips up. She slips up because I bet you before this conference they were told not to specifically say crypto when asked about crypto. They try to reword it. But I'm going to play a clip where she literally says we saw Bitcoin as an investment opportunity. So if she's saying that, the way that I'm thinking about that saying is if they're seeing it as an investment opportunity in 2025, that means they seen it as an investment opportunity this whole mother trucking time, bro.
1000%.
You know, because they're not behind the scenes just starting to catch up to this stuff in 2025. The IMF has had their hand in crypto and digital assets since pretty much day one. You could go back and find documents from the IMF about crypto and blockchain from 2015, 2016.
So it's been on their radar.
Been on their radar, bro.
Been on their radar.
Listen to this next one. This is Jeremy Allaire talking about how we're going to need to upgrade the future of finance to prepare for the era of machine robots, bro. This one is gnarly.
What?
Yeah. And think about it too. Watch when I play this clip. Think about it. Check this out.
The thing that it's not apples to apples. I think that this money will be the highest utility form of money that we've ever had. And as we enter the age of machines and of more and more of work and labor and intermediation happening with machines, we're gonna need to upgrade this economic infrastructure and the monetary infrastructure to contemplate that world. And I guess when we look at it today, USDC has there's 76 billion in circulation. Now that's grown over 80% year over year. It's growing very steadily. But the amount of the velocity of that money is also extraordinary. So we see sometimes, well over $2 trillion a month of transactions done with.
Sorry, I let it play on a little bit. So yeah, bro, he literally just said we will need to upgrade the money to prepare for the era of machines.
Man, these robots that are coming, I feel like it's coming in the next 3 years or less.
Oh, it's already here, bro. Have you seen what freaking Elon Musk has been posting with his Tesla bots? How they were doing karate and shit.
Yeah, I seen that. That's wild too, by the way.
And you're in LA. I'm surprised you haven't seen the DoorDash robots yet. Have you seen
no.
them?
We see them all the time. When I go into the city, I just went into the city last weekend with the kiddos and we seen it. Yeah.
There's
4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
And then they got Waymos now too. Waymo is like Uber and Lyft on steroids. There ain't nobody driving the bad boy. And it comes and picks you up. So I can only imagine the cost of a Waymo, to get a Lyft is way cheaper than Uber and Lyft because they've already cut out the third party, which is the driver. They don't got to give the driver a cut. So they can lower the prices technically. You know what I mean?
These new technologically savvy businesses are going to, they might be slow right now, but they're going to freaking boom in the next couple of years. This is such a crazy time to be alive. I dropped this document here and it made me think of it because of what Jeremy Allaire said, preparing for the era of machine robots. Because so this document, I said, AI is no longer just a tech trend. It's a structural shift reshaping how we work and create value. The takeaway for every professional or every person is clear. Lifelong learning is non-negotiable, whether through company programs, certifications, self-driven upskilling. Those who adapt will thrive as AI becomes a foundational layer of every industry. DeFi, crypto, how you manage your finances, how you pay your bills is going to be everything. So I said, to me, this moment feels like the early internet days, except the cycle is moving faster. And what did you just hear the managing director say? That this is all moving super fast and it's only going to continue to pick up. So we're at an inflection point. This is a document from 2025, IBM, Google, Accenture, Microsoft, all the big names, right? Intel. You probably have one of these companies' technologies in your house right now, right? And look at what they're saying. The pace of change brought on by artificial intelligence and AI advancement is unlike anything that we've ever seen. In boardrooms, research labs, and workplaces across the G7, that's the G7 nations, AI is reshaping tasks and, as a result, reimagining modern job architecture. You know how many people are about to lose their jobs and have no skills, bro?
I know, bro. And I keep saying too, like Alexa's in the pager stage right now. In the next 3 years, Alexa's going to be walking around your crib, doing your dishes, doing your laundry, folding your clothes, right? Alexa's about to be on steroids in a few years, bro.
Yes.
Right now, people are like, Alexa, play this for me, or Alexa, set an alarm for me, right? There's so much more that's about to come.
What's that movie that just came out with that chick from Transformers? I don't remember her name. I don't watch a lot of movies. Is her name Megan Fox? Megan Fox. She's a robot. She's an AI.
What
You
movie is
seen it,
it?
Rob?
What
Yo,
movie is it?
yeah, I'm pretty sure I watched it a couple of months ago when it came out, my G. But it's wild, dude. It's like about this chick, this in-house AI maid, this robot maid, and this guy's wife like is sick or something, and he gets this maid to like take care of the house and watch the kids and stuff. And she like falls in love with them and like tries to corrupt them, and they have sex, bro. It's wild, man. It's wild.
What?
I don't want to ruin it for you, bro, but it's crazy, man.
That's wild, bro. Man.
It's the reality, bro. It's like as crazy as that sounds now. Look back if you think it's not real. Look back 10 years ago at movies that were telling us how the world's going to be with virtual reality goggles and paying people digitally, iPads, all that stuff. All that stuff wasn't a reality 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Man, I mean, and the Apple goggles are wild too. I mean, man.
C-Flow put the name. Thank you. Shout out to you, C-Flow. Appreciate that. He put the name, or she put the name of the video in the comments, bro. It's called Subservience.
Subservience. Okay, I'm gonna peep it. I'll probably peep it this weekend sometime with the family.
I don't watch. No, I don't. Well, maybe your older sons, but not your little. Not
Oh,
your little.
okay. All right. It's not like a family movie. All right.
Yeah. It ain't like a family movie, bro.
All right.
Oh man, but yeah, nah, check it out. I don't really ever watch movies, but when I do, it's usually movies that I could like pick apart about how the future is going to be, like the Matrix type movies, like.
Yeah. Nah, facts.
But anyways, back to this document because we got off track. They say right here. So again, this is coming from all the leading industry experts, right? Lifelong learning. It says lifelong learning is essential to remain relevant in the age of AI.
Man.
So, if you're not progressing, if you're not watching and pay attention to the right content, eventually you're going to get replaced because the speed in which technology evolves, you're going to think that you're adopting technology that's relevant. And in reality, it's like you're in 2 years ago.
Facts, bro.
There's
And
still-
I heard Kathy Wood said that Elon told her that he ain't gonna stop until his robots can basically like sew what thread a needle. Like if the robot can thread a needle that tedious, imagine all the type of jobs, all the type of warehouse jobs. I mean, you name it. You're about to get replaced. You know what I mean? For so many different perks for businesses and institutions to, not employ certain amount of people because that comes with certain amount of, money. So the margins are about to be crazy for these businesses that adopt this AI and robots. That's real.
As conspiratorial as it sounds now, man, the gradual pace in which this is going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years is going to shock most people because a lot of people don't price in how much can happen like in the blink of an eye over 5 to 10 years. Like I look back from 5 years ago where I was at in 2020, COVID was only 5 years ago. Like that's not that long ago. We're still in that process of them transitioning everything. If you did research on why they struck COVID amongst the world, it was low-key just a push to enact the digital transformation.
That's
to get
real.
everybody. It was, bro. If you read the documents, the IMF's told us, the World Bank has told us, the BIS has told us that flat to our faces.
Yeah. And they're smart. You know what I mean? Don't let a good situation
Go to
waste, right? Like,
yeah. Don't let a crisis go to waste.
yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Don't let a crisis go to waste when there's so much you can get out of it. So use your imagination on what they got out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, the storm is coming. We're going to get into that one too, bro, because man, there's a lot happening. So let's play another clip. This is her. So this is where she kind of slipped up. She said Bitcoin, we see it as an investment opportunity.
Simplicity is to high degree used for investment purpose. Like Bitcoin is an investment opportunity first and foremost. There is a little bit of use for payment, but that's not the main purpose. Are we going to move to a
So when she,
So what's the main purpose?
yeah, so I'm like, when she said that, bro, I'm like, so you just openly said on stage, Bitcoin is an investment opportunity. We know y'all's asses have been in crypto and involved in crypto since the early days, but weren't y'all the same people telling everybody it's a scam back when it was worth $10 and $100 and $1,000?
So much FUD. Just internet play money, right? So many things are said about Bitcoin.
So wild how the world works, man, and how just people's brains are just in a freaking mesh ball, just being juiced by the elites, bro, all the time.
Man, facts, bro. Facts.
It's crazy, man. You really don't see it until you start learning about finance, until you start learning about the markets, until you start learning about the economy. You really can't see it because everything else is low-key a distraction.
Everything. Yeah.
We literally live in a world where it's entertainment shoved in your face, stimuli, dopamine hits all the time in your face. Lottery fixed mindset, instant gratification, always just thrown in your face. Never really gives you time to zoom out and see the bigger picture.
Yeah, it really doesn't. People want that instant gratification, and social media makes you feel like you can have that instant gratification. Social media just puts you in this comparison mindset. You're always comparing your life to others. And like, I mean, it's okay to dream. It's okay to have your own wants and needs, but man, you got to be able to decipher if they're really yours or if you're, being bombarded with the way the internet runs nowadays and shit, which is garbage, bro.
Algorithms control everybody's lives, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. They do for a fact. I heard that on a CSIS panel discussion. This dude, I'm pretty sure it was one of the directing managers of the CSIS that said algorithms control everybody's lives. That's the way our world is. That's where I learned the whole notion behind how you can control your algorithm. You can feed your YouTube channel and teach your Instagram and all that stuff what to feed you by first off, not liking specific things, not watching specific things, blocking certain people, and then hitting that little not interested button.
Yeah, that not interested button will clean up your algorithm real quick, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and just thinking about it, how many people are not even aware of just algorithms? So like every single day when they look at what they're looking at, they're just in a trance every single day, not realizing, you know what I mean? The trance
being broadcasted to them. It's literally being channeled to them, bro. It's being freaking directed to them to control their thinking, television,
and keep them stuck. Bro, the social media is like TV on fucking steroids, bro. On steroids. Real talk, bro. Because TV was already an issue, if you think about it. Before social media came, TV had an effect. Remember MTV? Remember all the music videos and all the bullshit that would come on there, right? That had an effect on our psyche. Bro, you can go on social media and watch, videos like that all day long. And there's people that are doing that shit. And it's
little
crazy.
Shorts, bro. Little shorts, little TikTok shorts. They got people tripping, bro. Oh my God.
They definitely do, bro. 1,000, bro. 1,000.
It's such a wild time to be alive, man.
Man.
But people want to become millionaires, right?
Yo, it's going to show in the next couple of years. It's going to show what you were doing with your time during this period.
That is a fact.
Because this is all, it's all here, and we have a foundation that we've laid. So people would come back and go back. Even you've been in the game way before me, bro. Go back years back and see how tapped in you were. You know what I mean? So,
man, you asked me how I was doing at the beginning of this podcast. And like, when you ask me questions like that, I feel bad answering because I see how people are suffering. And I'm like, fuck, man, people got to wake up. Like, dude, I'm just a normal average ass dude that cracked the code about how to, incorporate a profitable strategy and manage capital well. I made $42,000 this week, bro. Like, and I see people out there talking about XRP, this, and that, crypto. Oh my God, like literally losing their fucking mind, dude.
Yeah,
Instead
because
of just
yeah. Mhm.
they're and it's because they're always reliant on external sources for information when in reality the information dwells from within.
1000%, bro. And when that comes, it's gonna come. Like that's the beautiful part about trading or DeFi. You get that instant gratification on a daily basis because we're pulling money from the markets through DeFi or through trading or through both, right? So it gives us that extra layer of patience as well. We're not over here like, when is it gonna send? When is it gonna go? Bro, if you're in that mindset, you're gonna get wrecked. It's just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. And you should do something more wise with your time instead of being in that mindset on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis, however it is with your mindset. And you should tap in and start learning DeFi, start learning how to trade. So then you can have that instant gratification on a daily basis. Just like Cypress made 42 racks in 1 week. You kidding me? You better tap in.
It is literally cancerous, bro, what is happening right now. And I honest to God, bro, I'm at a point where I'm thinking about like next year, end of next year. It's all I can take mentally, bro. I'm fucking tired of the Moon Boys. I'm tired of the people that fucking they claim they run multi-million-dollar businesses, bro, where people entrust them with their fucking money and they're sitting here and I could find videos of them from just a few months ago telling everybody XRP is going to go to $1,000 in November.
Bro, the new one is that XRP is going to go to $1 million, bro. Like,
and I'm like, y'all are letting these people manage your money for them, trusting them with cold storaging and institutional grade storaging your assets, but they can't even properly educate people about the markets, bro.
Yeah,
people are cooked right now, bro. They
really are.
You know, and if you're listening and what I'm saying to you is like kind of starting to resonate, and you're like, dang, you spitting facts. Guys, tap in, because man, there are demons out there right now trying to feed you like they care, like they're telling you the truth, but in reality, behind the scenes, they're just entertainers. And eventually the results are going to show. And there's going to be a certain onset of people that listened and people that didn't.
100%, bro. And I can honestly say that there are certain content creators that are fucking hired by certain people to put out certain information. That's just my opinion, but
I agree.
But certain things that I see, I mean, oh my
Think
God,
about this, bro. They share too many things in common. They share too many things in common. Like, how the fuck are there? Like, how the fuck? And I've been making XRP and Ripple content since like 2017. So nobody can say I don't care. Oh, he's talking shit about the XRP. No, that's my biggest bag. I love XRP. I love Ripple. I like a lot of the research I do is that. But I never lied to nobody and said, oh my God, it's going to go to $1,000. Why are there so many people like that create content like that get attention? We got to get off the topic, bro, because it gets me so irritated. I agree with you, though. I really think that there's a syndicate. There's like a syndicate, bro, that's got these people that know that they smile and wear a suit well, and they're paying them behind the scenes to lie to everybody, bro.
100% they are, bro. That's my honest opinion. I could be totally wrong, but my honest opinion is that I feel like that's really happening behind the scenes. So, yeah, just be careful. What we're really ultimately saying is be careful who you're listening to, because who you're listening to on a daily basis in this space, while you're putting your hard-earned money into this space, it could be very detrimental. You know what I mean? It could be detrimental or it could be good, and you're going to grow and stay. But most people are not going to be here in 2030, like you keep saying as well. And we've been seeing people fall off. So, you know, pay attention.
Last clip from the IMF, because we got off topic. Sorry, me and Aqua are so passionate about this shit. It's just miserable for real to see hardworking people believe these people on the internet that are idiots, y'all. They're fucking idiots, you guys.
Yeah.
Come on. Mine and Aqua's followers, if you're listening to this, we are better. You are better. You deserve more.
You do. You do.
You deserve more than being lied to by these fucking content creators.
1000%, bro. We're gonna be pulling cards all 2026.
I'm telling you, bro, I'm not joking. When me and Uzi open the fucking trading floor in Dubai in 2027, I am pulling people's cards. I'm talking about I'm showing up to these events, checking motherfuckers like, hey, you remember? You remember? You remember this, bro? Oh, you don't remember? I got timestamps. I want to interview people. You remember when you told everybody this?
Yeah.
And then what?
Facts, bro. Getting called out. 100%, because people need to see it too. 100%. And we got the portfolios for proof. Like, we ain't bullshitting over here. Like, we've really grown our portfolios, and we're part of the 1.5%. We can say that proudly. You can check the blockchain. Some of these guys claim that they have shit. I don't believe them. I believe it's cap, to be honest with you. I think it's all cap.
They're wearing boxers while they wear a suit while they make their videos, but really they got boxers on.
Yeah.
They're in their underwear making content for you guys with a suit top.
1000%, bro. 1000.
Last video from the IMF. Fiat money is moving digital. Do not close your eyes to this reality.
I'm telling countries, accept reality. Fiat money is moving digital. The developments in crypto, both unbacked and backed, they're happening with exponential speed. So yeah, you can try to lock your country away from this. Good luck with it. So yes, I'm telling my members, understand it, and then decide for yourself how you're going to operate in this world. But do not close your eyes to reality.
Georgine, one of the questions.
Bro. Hey, I'm convinced now digital means crypto. And they were like, yo, just whatever you say, don't say crypto. All right. And she was like, gotcha. Digital.
Oh man, I love this life, man. I love this life. More life, blessings, more life. I cannot, man. Education and just watching this stuff and just being a part of this transformation is so wild. I wish I was a part of every other industrial revolution too, because I would have manipulated the fuck out of that to benefit my life too.
Yeah.
The second one, the third one, and now the fourth one, bro. I wish I was involved in the second and third one. Crazy stuff is about to happen.
We're blessed to be here though, because I really think that this is the biggest one.
Bro, I was having conversations with one of the high net worth homies today about buying restaurants and opening up. He's like, yeah, dude, I just opened up a wine cellar. You want to invest with me in a bingo lounge? I'm looking at buying a restaurant. Like, those aren't normal conversations. It's mind blown to me that, again, like I'm saying, I'm at a point where I can just have those conversations with people in my contacts and feel comfortable about it. Like, that is where everybody can be. Yeah. More than that, you deserve more. Do you understand? You are a finite being. You deserve more for yourself than what the freaking system has given you. The system has beaten you down. It has weighed you down. It has not treated you well. You have to treat yourself well.
You do.
And these new technologies are like, a lot of people are resisting these new technologies, but you can't resist it. You can't. It's gonna literally roll you over. You should be using all of these technologies to your advantage. Artificial intelligence, DeFi, crypto, learning how to freaking trade, all these things that you can do with just an internet connection and a laptop or a mobile device.
And they're acts of self-love if you really think about it. These are acts of self-love because you're looking out for your future self of what is coming. She just told you should not close your eyes. What's another way of closing your eyes? Acknowledging what we just said and then going back to some normal life, watching this and watching that has nothing to do with learning what she just said to pay attention to. You feel me? So, pay attention. It's real easy to sit here and hear what she said. Like, are you gonna act though? What are you gonna do this weekend? You're gonna, apply yourself and learn something new. Maybe use ChatGPT for an hour if you've never used it. But yeah, definitely apply yourself. They're acts of self-love.
I'll never forget the IMF spring meetings that took place in 2023, and they opened up the IMF spring meeting with an AI. And the AI specifically said to people, there will be those who adopt these new technologies, ... smiley face. And then there will be those that don't, ... frowny face. That's how the AI started off the conversation.
Man.
You know?
Yeah, you know, man. As a matter of fact, I won't talk about it. I'm gonna send you this video that my son sent me about AI. It's kind of wild, bro, but I'll send it to you later. If we talk about it right now, we're gonna go down a rabbit hole, so I won't even bring it up.
Yeah, we're on YouTube. We gotta chill.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah,
sometimes
we gotta
it's a
chill.
little too- we know a little bit too much for YouTube. YouTube don't like us talking. So the end of denial, the IMF finally admits what crypto knew all along, right? So they admitted it, right? This whole entire article from Kraken, by the way, mind you, right? A huge exchange in the space, wrote an entire article just recently on this IMF event, right? So it says why this moment matters. The IMF statement is not revolutionary by itself. What makes it historic is the subtext. The establishment is admitting that digital money is no longer a question of if, but how. That changes everything. It forces countries to ask new questions. How do we maintain monetary sovereignty when value moves across networks faster than we can regulate it? How do we design digital money that respects privacy, transparency, and freedom? And then blah, 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 right? So it's just a wake-up call. And how many of your average everyday people are reading stuff like this or tuned in? Not a lot. So if you're here, you're an investor, you're already taking on the risk, exposing yourself to these assets, which most of you probably are if you're listening to this podcast right now. I encourage you guys to level up. Level up. It's not just about hodl anymore. You have to engage. You have to interact. You have to learn. You have to grow. This is literally what we're in right now is literally like a little tiny baby, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't learn how to move with the baby, you're going to be a bad parent.
Yeah, facts, bro. That's a great analogy. That's a great analogy.
It's the same thing with your portfolio. If you don't learn how to manage it, how to rebalance it, how to reallocate, how to do things properly, how to engage, how to grow it, how to use the market's money to grow it, how to mentally prepare yourself for the volatile swings that are going to come with it, you're going to ruin it.
Yeah. And we've heard too many people tell us that you should not be on the sidelines. So if you're one of those that are not even in crypto and you're just like listening and like, oh, when is a good time? Now, not financial advice, but how many weeks have we shared so many different people saying the time is now, the time is now, get in, the water is warm, the dam is broken, all these different sayings of it's happening now, but people are tripping because the market is bloody. You should be taking full advantage of all these discounts. With like the people that are on the comments or on X talking about why is the market bleeding? Man, the market's really shit right now. No, the market is on a fat ass discount right now. What are you talking about?
For reasons too, bro. I want to go over those reasons in today's call, educating our followers on why that is happening, because that's something that we talk about in the CyberX community. How many times, bro, do you see people on the internet say, no one could have predicted this pullback? How many times, bro? And ask anybody from the CyberX private community. We predicted the pullback. I got timestamps.
All year you've been calling it, bro. All year, as a matter of fact. From last year to this year, all
timestamps.
That's the beautiful part about being tapped in with the CyberX community. You're way ahead of the curve, and you're not one of these people out here tripping. But
it's not even to be cocky, but like in our community, here's our video from October 6, 2025. As a community, we sat down as a group. There was like 75 people on the private call, and we typed out a list when the market cap was at an institutional sell delta. Mind you, we're the only community on the face of the internet with access to these tools in the retail spectrum because of the algorithms that we've built, right? When the market was at 4.23 trillion, we had a Zoom call and we said these would be the catalysts that create a pullback in the market. And we literally drew out what would likely happen, right? This is that video right there, October 6th. You can see the date, private community Zoom call. So don't believe people when they say there aren't communities out there that can call these things, because it's not hard, guys. If you know and understand the fundamentals and you know what will weigh on risk sentiment, you'll understand why the market is down. There's nothing wrong with the underlying infrastructure in crypto right now, y'all. As a matter of fact, the landscape for crypto has never seen this much bullish momentum and tailwinds supporting it ever in crypto history. The only reason crypto is down right now is because of the risk aversion and global market sentiment, meaning larger investors than you and I that actually control the movement of these markets are much more interested in safe haven assets because of all the uncertainty in the monetary policy between multiple different central banks, not just the Fed, the Bank of Japan as well. We're seeing global tensions rise between big, huge jurisdictions like China and the United States. We're seeing political uncertainty in France, political uncertainty in Japan. We're seeing political uncertainty in the United States. All of these things, mind you, there's a couple more. The inflationary environment that is uncertain. I'll go over this in just a second, but all of these things are the things driving massive demand for gold right now and leading to this crypto retracement that we're currently living through. And eventually it will cease to exist. And like in previous cycles, the dollar will continue to be debased. We will continue to see money printing, and we will continue to see assets that are used as a hedge against dollar debasement, i.e. crypto, gold, silver, all these hard assets will continue to rise against dead decaying fiat currencies. It's an easy play. It is literally an easy play. There's different strategies in which you can partake in the meantime. Again, to each his own. And me and Aqua have been advocates, and I'm going to show you proof in today's video that DeFi is one of the best strategies. DeFi is one of the best strategies. So Aqua, would you mind reading this post?
So it says gold is hitting $4,300 per ounce, and people still just waking up like shit is just normal. In 2020, COVID lockdowns couldn't push gold this high. 2021, war in Russia, Ukraine. 2023, banking crisis couldn't push gold this high. 2023, Middle East tensions escalating couldn't push gold this high. Something has clearly broken. Central banks have been buying gold at rates never seen in history. Remember, their goal is still in 2030 agenda. And in order to get more, can you blow it up a little bit, actually?
Yeah, bro.
People in transition to be okay with the new digital economy, there will need to be a push, another catalyst, something that drives demand for people to accept. The next 5 years, hard assets that appreciate against currency debasement will be your best friend. Something has to break 2025, 26, he predicted, and look where we are now.
There. And you have a very divisive and opinionated public over there. And you've got a lot of people who happily go along with the things that the government asks them to do. And then you have a lot of people who ask questions and wonder if this is really in their own best interest. Right now, I think it would be very unpopular to try to enter a CBDC into the American population. And they know that, right? And they know, and I don't think that America has been watching China work on a CBDC for 5 or 6 years and doesn't have one in their back pocket ready to go. I think that they absolutely do. The question is, how are they going to implement it, right? And we know that the government, unfortunately in America, left the great vision of a very radical idea with very minimal government intervention and very much a pure democracy to a very controlling state, where you saw that even more recently than ever with lockdowns. But in order for them to usher in a radical new idea, they need to create an environment to where the public is asking for it, right? And you have a very particular time in America happening right now where you have CPI or inflation increasing, still not under control. Interest rates are higher than ever. Bond markets are crashing. The highest stimulus injection into the economy ever outside of wartime and pandemic was just announced by the Biden administration, almost $1 trillion. We're inflating the monetary supply by over $1 trillion a year for the past 20-something years on average. So you have a very, very unsustainable system that's happening right now that they cannot kick the can down the road much longer. People are starting to lose faith in the ability for the US to pay back their debts. This is why the bond market is not doing so well. And people are going to look elsewhere to put their money. So that how do you implement something like a CBDC, which gives much more control to the government over what you choose to do with your money? Things like if they need to stimulate the economy, they can make it so that your money expires if you don't use it after a certain period of time. Well, they need an event to happen where people are asking for it. So in my opinion, the way that the US CBDC gets introduced is eventually probably 2025, well, they need an event to happen where people are asking for it. So in my opinion, the way that the US CBDC gets introduced is, well, they need an event to happen where people are asking for it. So in my opinion, the way that the US CBDC gets introduced is eventually probably 2025, 2026, after you have the elections that come through and you have essentially what's looking like hyperinflation. Something has to break. We all know that something has to break. The Fed has said it many times in the past. And people like Ray Dalio and other people are calling for this. Lots of data to back this up. So this looks like a 1930s, Great Depression type of event that happens. This will put everybody out of work. This will put everybody out of food, and people will be scared, right? People who have had safety and security, food and shelter will be scared for the first time in a long time and not knowing what to do, right? And then you will have whoever is in office and running at the time will come out with the solution, right? Everyone's really hungry, scared, out of work, doesn't have any money. And so the solution will be, hey, we are modern, we're hip, we're cool, we use blockchain. It's not real blockchain, it's a centralized blockchain, but we use blockchain. And we have a way better monetary system. The guys in the past, they tried their best, it was a failed system. Now we're putting everything on blockchain, it's gonna be transparent, you guys can trust us, blah, blah, blah. And we know that you're hurting right now, we're sorry the economy sucks. All you have to do is download this app, scan your face, connect all your accounts, and we will instantly send you, $1,200 of stimulus so that you can go buy food and groceries and, pay your mortgage, pay your rent. And this has to happen. I already know right now that that it will not be openly accepted with open arms. But as we know, when the US had all of their privacy stripped away from them after 9/11, they made this huge bill about the Patriot Act and how it was going to be the anti-terrorist bill. But what they really did was sign away all of our rights to privacy, for them to wiretap our phones and look at all of our conversations. This would have never happened if you didn't have this big event happen prior.
Bro, what he just broke down is the Hegelian dialect.
Yeah.
Problem,
And
reaction, solution. And
it's
oh boy,
happening right now.
and oh boy to his left, did you see him kind of put his head down and go like, "Oh, bro, you're speaking too much."
Yo, listen, but guess what? The crazy part about this is Kyle Chase, the CEO of Mace Ventures. Okay. Think about the time frame that he just gave. He said that this would all start to happen in 2025, 2026. This video is from 2023. Bro, it's happening right fucking now. Gold is literally at an all-time high. Everybody's freaking the fuck out. People are they're predicting that if this government shutdown prolongs and continues, then the employment numbers could be completely distraught and effed up. I mean, we don't know that to be a fact yet, so it's not good to gauge that that's going to be guaranteed, but it's possible. But I agree with him, bro. There's going to need to be some type of push, one more good shebang push, some type of catalyst to get everybody to transition to this digital agenda that the IMF just confirmed.
So we looking at another repeat 2020.
But this goes hand in hand, bro, with what you just said, is that bottom line is thinking that this is all going to take another 5 years. No.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah, we've had really important people tell us that it's happening right now. I mean, shout out to Marshall Hayner and what he had said on that podcast back in July. He basically, before he had gave his timeline of what was it, 6 to 12 months or 12 to, I think it was just 12 months, but he said that he's been wrong before and you can cut his timelines in half or even by a quarter. So, I mean, that aligns with what's going on right now. You know what I mean? And his talk track aligns with how many other people that we've had up here, Paul Brody, Sandy Call, I'm sure I'm not thinking of the other names, but they're all really important people saying the same exact things, It's
not a coincidence, bro.
It's not.
And not only are they telling you in their verbal comments on panels, but look at their documents. Like they literally tell you in their documents that you guys should be studying the macro. Look at what it says. It says the pattern talking about the 4-year cycle for Bitcoin is broken. Says the 4-year cycle is becoming less relevant as macroeconomic conditions and institutional flows and regulatory changes increasingly shape market dynamics. Many argue that the 4-year cycle effectively ended back in 2022. That year saw a clear correlation between the stock market and bear market and the crypto bear market. Today, the market appears to be guided more by macroeconomic policy than by crypto native patterns. Major players now hold meaningful positions in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, reflecting a deeper integration of crypto assets into corporate financial strategy. So there's confirmation that they're literally using it. And they also mentioned XRP. It says they're also considering expanding their holdings into XRP and other crypto assets. And do you remember we had the gentleman the other day, the institutional representatives I think I have the notes. You remember they said that they're going to be expanding soon into the top 250 assets now? You
Yeah.
remember that?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
played
I
that.
remember.
We played that last stream, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
here it says the clear implication is that crypto-specific catalysts are drying up. Most of the narratives and developments that the crypto industry once pointed to as bullish drivers have already played out. With fewer crypto native events left on the horizon, attention is now shifting towards the global financial system as the primary source of forthcoming catalysts. Then right here it says, so while the cycle may not be over yet, the big moves have already gone behind us. From here, it's less about crypto events and more about macro trends. So in their document, they're literally telling people, y'all should be studying the macro, right? Study the fundamentals, because again, if you look at the market, so if you come over here to the total cryptocurrency market and you just go back to 2022, ask yourself this question, test your knowledge, go on the weekly time frame, zoom in. Do you understand why any of these pullbacks took place? This one here from 2023 rolling into 2024, the one from 2025 rolling into 2024 rolling into 2025. This even small one here, this was the Middle East event that took place when Iran and Israel, that whole entire shabacle took place. And then now more recently, why this pullback, why we're seeing sell pressure in crypto is not just random. It is because larger investors than you and I right now are favoring safe havens. And the risk sentiment currently is risk off, right? We saw the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, albeit they have slightly recovered, or if not have recovered, I'm pretty sure if I went and looked, they've recovered a lot of the losses that they garnished a couple days ago when Trump made that announcement last Friday. But regardless, you can tell by understanding global market conditions and fundamentals why risk assets, particularly like crypto, which is the biggest risk asset class, like in terms of risk, like it is classified as the largest and riskiest asset class, right? Investors de-risked. But the trend to the upside, surpassing 5, 6, 7, 10 trillion dollars, $15 trillion possibly in the next couple of years, is not over, y'all. Far from it. So like Aqua was telling everybody, it's not financial advice, but again, the more logical scenario right now is to use this pullback as a dollar cost average and a wake-up call. So here's my wake-up call to everybody. So think about this seriously. Since its peak in October, the total crypto market has shed over $720 billion. That is a massive pullback. And the reality is very few people timed the top perfectly. I could say off the top of my head a couple of public retail traders on YouTube that called the top. Myself called the top. A couple of other people, maybe even you listening, called the top. And if you did time the top, be honest with yourself. Are you going to be able to time the bottom? For most, the answer is no. This is where panic, overthinking, and constant micromanaging creep in. And that's exactly where many investors will lose their edge and mess up generational wealth. So here's the truth that most do not want to hear. For some odd reason, I don't know why they don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. If you're not an active trader, and most people aren't, you're likely holding through this drawdown. So if you're listening to this and you did not sell the top, you're probably still holding your positions. That's fine, but just holding without a strategy means that your assets are just sitting idle, doing nothing, not working for you. This is where DeFi changes the game. People using DeFi right now, staking their assets in safe cold storage and earning 3 to 8% yield, in some cases double digit if you're a node provider on certain blockchains, while helping secure networks. They're not just waiting for the next market recovery to make money. They're compounding and making money right now. So when the market does turn back up, these DeFi users are going to come out with more assets than they started with when we went into whatever cycle we're headed into. Because what if this bear cycle or this pullback lasts a couple months like it has in the past? Right? So really ask yourself, because some coins as someone not using, or the same coins as someone not using DeFi, but more numbers of coins they will have because they use DeFi to grow their bags. So it's the same coins as someone not using DeFi, but the person that is using DeFi is going to have more bags. This isn't magic, it's logic. You've already done research, most likely, to hold crypto, which you believe in, okay? Which we all know is risky because none of the crypto that we have picked are guaranteed. Not XRP, not fucking XLM, not HBAR, not Quant, not all the ISO tokens. None of them are guaranteed, y'all. So you've already taken on the risk. You can apply that same due diligence that you did to do the studies on the blue chip digital assets that you accumulated in DeFi, learning about these protocols, learning how to participate safely, learning how to mitigate risk, and you can turn your idle holdings into active yield generation strategies. So again, my message is stop letting fear or lack of education hold you back during volatile months or bear drawdowns. Hedging through yield is one of the smartest plays for long-term holders that you can make. So don't just hold, build, compound, and position yourself for the recovery, because the wealth transfer is happening in real time, and you need to make sure that your strategy is built for it. So I know that that was a spiel. Aqua, I'll let you take it away so it doesn't seem like I'm crowding the conversation.
No, I mean, I think it was well said. And I hope a lot of people read it, and I hope everyone was listening right now. And it's what you said is facts. You know what I mean? The ones that are participating in DeFi are going to have more bags than the ones that are not. So it's like, why would you leave food on the table? Staking, lending, becoming a validator and running a node. I mean, especially on metal, earning 12% off the rip, not to mention a cut of whoever, you know, brings liquidity to your node. You get a percentage of that as well. Look into this type of stuff. This stuff is here to stay. And, you know, you're still technically front running the institutions by participating in this very moment, but not for long. Not for long. The institutions are coming. It's right around the corner. And if you're going to sleep on this information and push it off, you know, God bless. God bless. So
a lot of people are skeptical about DeFi because they're like, oh, it's not regulated, this, and that. They make these excuses. And I get that. Again, that's because you are most likely not learning how to mitigate risks, because what brings fear? Risks of losing capital, fear of losing capital, fear of putting money into something and losing it. That's what creates that fear, that skepticism. So how are you going to avoid that? Well, first, it comes down to education. Educating yourself that these regulators are working with these protocols, regulating them, which most people still to this day think doesn't exist. There's still a whole onset of influencers out there that will tell you that DeFi is not regulated. You guys, they're lying to you. I'll tell you that right now, because we here in this community listen to people with valid credentials that work with the SEC, that work with institutions that tell you that they are regulated by the SEC and they offer yield, right? So don't take that from me. This is the CEO of Wave Digital Assets, David Seimer, and here on stage at an event that just was posted on August 11th, 2025, only has 700 views, you guys, mind you. So you can imagine all the influencers out there that haven't seen this video. And here he says, we are providing yield to our customers. We work with institutions and we are regulated by the SEC. So you have a industry-leading expert on stage tell you that they're providing yield and they're regulated by the SEC. Hello, that means that yield is allowed.
1,000%.
They're not going to come out and be like, hey guys, come on in.
Yeah. And if you do your homework, the Metallicus ecosystem is all BSA compliant. So that DeFi ecosystem is also too compliant. So yeah, go run this.
That exists kind of pretty good, well, in its own world now. Dave, I know you have been providing your clients with yield because they can't access it. And you've got an interesting thing you're doing. I'll let you talk about it. Maybe you're trying to innovate in a different way within the confines of the existing rules. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, our approach to DeFi is working. Our approach to DeFi is a little bit novel.
Monday.com, the opposite of any work platform we tried in the past. We tried other work management platforms, not.
Yeah, sure. This one works. Good. It's loud. All right. So our approach is pretty novel. So Waves, most of our AUM and most of our revenue is tied to DeFi. We do operate out of the US, we're SEC regulated. We operate offshore for a lot of the more degen DeFi things we do. And you can largely think of us as, in a sense, of kind of a market maker for large layer ones that want to basically put their own assets into their own DeFi. So our biggest set of client bases are a lot of the largest protocols in crypto, these are the top 25 tokens of the ones that have it.
So that sentence, yeah, go ahead, bro.
He said most of our revenue is DeFi.
Most of our revenue is DeFi. We operate with the top 25 tokens, and we're SEC registered.
Say less. Say less.
So what you talking about? The SEC ain't regulated DeFi, because yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Working. He also said, what did he say? We're working with the top. What did he say? A couple of protocols, top layer ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, guys and gals, you got to really just tap in. And then to go on to my strategy talk, my wake up call message. These large investors, if they want to get involved with crypto, they need a way to hedge against the volatility. And so, what are they starting to look at in their digital asset treasuries and these ETF wrappers? Staking, node providing, right? They're all going to do it because the institution that's doing it compared to an institution that is not knows that it's going to lack in competitiveness. So they're all going to do it. Same thing with the retail crowd, y'all. Again, there's going to be retail traders that earn yield, retail traders that don't. Like Aqua said, why would you want to be one of the ones that's not earning while you're in a bear market, while you're holding through it anyways?
These institutions are here to make money too. So like they're looking at DeFi as another stream of income. Like they're not looking at DeFi as like whatever the assumption mind says to you. No, institutions are here to play in the world of DeFi because it's going to add cash flow to their business. Straight up.
So this is Thomas Chen, the CEO of Function. Listen to what he says here.
Hello? Okay. Yeah, putting me on the spot here. I would say right now we're in the accumulation phase. I think institutions are speed running crypto quite a bit, right? If this is the ICO phase. And very soon, faster than I had expected, probably by the end of the year, it's going to turn to what I view as the activation phase. So Bitcoin is no longer just like an ornament on the balance sheet, right? You're not looking at just as a reserve asset, but you need to turn into revenue. Also, by way of background, I've also...
Didn't you just say that, bro?
Bro. And his timeline too. He said the end of the year, the activation mode, right? What did he say? Activation time, or what? I forget what
end of this year is going to be activation mode. And the guy previous, when we opened up the podcast today, I aired, the guy said that 2025 is the foundational year for mainstream and institutional adoption of crypto. So, it all correlates. Let him finish though. Let him finish. I'm gonna run it back.
Had the pleasure of working with all these fine gentlemen, not just as a reserve asset, but you need to turn into revenue. Also, by way of background, I've also had the pleasure of working with all these fine gentlemen on the BitGo side when I cover them at BitGo. So at BitGo, I ran sales. I was there for 7 years. The observation was last year, BitGo hit 100 billion in AUC. Large majority of that was in BTC. So the question was, how do we actually get yield on this BTC? Because our clients were just paying, like 24 bips on it. And so I started looking at DeFi and how DeFi was evolving with Bitcoin-Fi, a lot of these interesting projects. And the more we kind of ideated on this, the more we started to see that, hey, Bitcoin is becoming a reserve asset for DeFi, but very quickly people need to put it to work just like they need to put cash to work. So my view is with these DATs,
Bro, they should just invite us to these great ass events and have us on stage as well.
I'm not. We're gonna pull up, bro. It's not time yet. I'm too busy, honest to God, to pull up. To but end of 2026, rolling into 2027, guarantee you there. I'll be mic'd up, interviewing these people my damn self. You will see me at some of these events, 110%. I've actually been asked to come to a couple, but I've just honestly been way too busy in my personal life. You know what happened in June of this year to me, bro. It took losing that capital took a big hit out of my life. Anyways, but
we both took L's, bro. We both
back to what this dude said, okay? Because he said that he stems from BitGo, BITGO, right? Okay, guys, do you remember? So he's talking about Bitcoin yield. For everybody listening, let's go back at what happened at the beginning of this year, okay, or mid this year. You guys remember? BitGo enters a strategic partnership with Vivo Power to facilitate its initial US $100 million XRP acquisition for a treasury strategy. And in this treasury strategy, they are committed to utilizing this XRP for yield generation, right? You can't make this stuff up. So it's not just Bitcoin that he's talking about, right? It is XRP. It's going to be a lot of these digital assets, Ethereum, Solana, right? It's not just Bitcoin. They mainstream Bitcoin on these panel discussions because behind the scenes, they're probably told that they have to say that, right? But here's it right here. It says, right? If you want to, I can read this. You want me to read this where it talks about how they want to earn yield? It's literally right there. So again, this guy's talking about how when he worked at BitGo, that's what their focus was. He's telling you guys, hey, these institutions, if they want to get involved, they're going to need to turn these digital assets into yield generating assets, revenue generating assets. And here's BitGo announcing this strategic partnership with Vivo Power to accumulate $100 million worth of XRP to put it in treasury strategies that are generating yield. This is mind-blowing stuff, bro.
It is. Where does it say? It mentions XRP on this document right here that you're sharing.
Yeah, bro. It says it right here.
Oh yeah, right. It's right there. Boom. No.
So it says BitGo, the leading infrastructure provider of digital asset solutions, and Vivo Power, a publicly traded company that this is back, by the way, from I think it was August or earlier this year in like July or something, right? It says to transition to an XRP focused treasury and decentralized finance solutions company, today announced a strategic partnership with Vivo Power, successfully raising $121 million, will leverage BitGo as an exclusive over-the-counter trading desk to acquire XRP for its initial US $100 million acquisition of XRP tokens. And then Vivo Power partnered with Flare, says it right here. So if you go and you look up Flare, Vivo Power,
yeah, they're about to put that XRP straight to work.
Yeah, look, bro, that's exactly what they're going to do. Here it is right here. It says they announced this, by the way, at 2025 Apex. This is Hugo Filion.
Hugo Filion, yeah.
Vivo Power says a publicly traded company focused on XRP-centric treasury strategy today announced the launch of a definitive partnership with Flare to generate yield on its digital assets. So Vivo Power is using BitGo as their infrastructure, as their OTC, right, to get this XRP, and they're putting it to work. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah, you can't. You can't. And why would you sit your XRP idle when these guys are putting it to work to earn yield?
Because the retail thinks that they're going to be able to sell it and then get back in the market at a bottom.
Yeah, not happening. Good luck.
Mind you, let me show you guys what they've been talking about behind the scenes during this entire market crash. So me and Aqua are not crazy for telling you guys to focus on DeFi while the markets are retracing, because while the markets are retracing, the global elites are having closed door meetings and signing multi-million-dollar deals surrounding DeFi and yield generation. So check this out. This is from the UK Crypto Asset Business Council, or a UK CBC LinkedIn profile. And right here, you can see, what are they talking about? They're talking about, says right here, they're discussing everything from stablecoins to DeFi and how the convergence of AI and blockchain is transforming the global financial system. Who's at this event? Well, we can see right here. You get all these industry leading experts. You got people from Bitpanda, Aave, who is a DeFi protocol. You got UK Ripple Policy Director of Europe, Matthew Osborne, right? This is all stuff that people don't want to pay attention to because they're too focused on price, when you got the global elite sitting in with these organizations talking about DeFi specifically. Me and Aqua showed this last week where they had an open roundtable discussion having freaking croissants and mimosas. And it says right here, our core message is simple. Clarity is key. With the right rules in place, DeFi can deliver liquid markets, collateralization, settlement, and governments, the infrastructure of the future of finance. They hosted this event, DeFi, a strategic opportunity for the UK. This is that breakfast meeting right here.
I still want to know what's on that notepad, bro.
Still, yeah, bro, that notepad. I honestly screenshotted it and put it into AI, but AI wasn't able to determine what it said. Would have been
Yeah.
frustrating. But who was at this event, right? Again, you got Aave, Ripple, Coinbase, Kraken. Mind you, Kraken was the same one that just put out this document talking about the IMF, the end of denial. The IMF finally broke and admits that what crypto knew all along. Right? We played that video for you guys at the beginning with the IMF director saying Bitcoin is a good investment opportunity. You got the dude from BitGo here, or used to work at BitGo, saying these institutions aren't going to just hold Bitcoin, they're going to earn yield on it. And I just showed you the same organization is working behind the scenes, acquiring XRP to earn yield on it. You know, this is not, none of the stuff I'm showing you right now, guys, is coincidence. It's a wake-up call. Hello. New era of finance. They're creating new tools, new opportunities, building out infrastructure that we have never, ever seen before, right? Never. We've never used DeFi before in finance because it hasn't been available. Learn it because it's a level playing field. What are you going to say?
I'm just saying, like, bro, these are insights from the inside that we're sharing. Literally insights from the inside. Like, I don't see anybody else sharing this type of stuff. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that we do share this stuff with our message being about DeFi, because these people are way more important than we are in the space. You know what I mean? And they're all aligned with DeFi. So the fact that we're aligned with DeFi as well just tells us that we're right where we need to be. So,
you know, Stuart Alderati from Ripple sitting here talking, you know, whatever. No big deal, from the Minister of Finance of Luxembourg. Just says right here, discussing their ambitions in Europe and reaffirmed our commitment to digital innovation. And what did Ripple just recently announce, y'all? Look, 6 hours ago, G Treasury. We are thrilled to announce that Ripple, the leader in digital asset infrastructure for enterprise business, has agreed to acquire G Treasury. What is this going to allow? 24/7 liquidity optimization. Without me even reading this, Aqua, what does 24/7 liquidity optimization mean?
bro, there's no more, cutoff time at 5 p.m. Pacific time. There's no more can't trade Saturday, Sunday. Nah, liquidity's moving 24/7. You need to borrow against your loan at 3 a.m. or borrow against your digital asset at 3 a.m. Boom. You want to take out the equity in your house at 3 a.m. Boom. Sign that smart contract, put that liquidity to work, or do whatever it is you're going to do with that liquidity. But the facts are facts. 24/7 liquidity means this is like Vegas, baby. And the city never stops.
Literally, no more cash sitting idle overnight and weekends. Convert into yield-generating strategies instantly, then back to fiat when needed. Every dollar works continuously. This is literally coming from the Ripple and G Treasury acquisition that just took place, or the announcement 6 hours ago from G Treasury themselves. And I just showed you how Ripple is sitting in on the fucking meetings, y'all.
Yeah.
Eating croissants, talking about DeFi.
Facts, bro. Facts.
No other influencers are showing you guys this type of sauce.
And for the first time ever, too, the stock market will be 24/7 instead of it, stopping and holiday. It's closed, all that garbage, all that shit's long gone, long gone.
It's so just crazy, bro. The amount of information that's available that people just won't read, take the time and just digest it. Another thing that's going to be available is, it says, one unified platform where individuals are going to be able to monitor and manage traditional and digital assets in real time through familiar G Treasury workflows, institutional grade infrastructure trusted by central banks and 300 plus financial institutions worldwide. And they're going to be able to earn 24/7 on their idle assets. So mind you, okay, what we just showed you guys, you got this pullback happening. Everybody's freaking out. Meanwhile, you got the IMF meetings, which you guys can go watch by heading over to the IMF YouTube. They're all live. They're all right here. At the same time, you got this event that not a lot of people paid attention to, but the DC FinTech Week also taking place with Visa, Amazon. You got Ripple, Ondo tokenizing stocks. You just heard freaking Aqua talking about tokenization of stocks. You got Circle, Citi at this event, right? This is all happening while the pullback is taking place, and they're talking about DeFi. They're talking about digital assets going to work on stage. Here is another mind-blowing conference that took place where they're saying similar things, right? Remember what Aqua said about what Marshall Hayner said, the time frame Well, people share this vision that thinking 5 years out is too late. Here's a gentleman right here with institutional credentials sitting at Stellar Meridian saying 5 years, if you're waiting that long to adopt these new technologies and integrate yourself, it's going to be too late.
It's like a CLO, that's highly rated by like a Moody's, and pays even incremental yield. It's nice to see, that be an asset that's available broadly as well.
Thanks, Liz. Why should traditional finance care about tokenization today and not 5 years from now? So, Lucas, do you want to
I
start?
can start and then you guys move on. Well, I believe it's already happening, right? So we have been seeing activities, especially with digital twins. So we have been seeing institutionals already experimenting the potential of the technology. Of course, it will take time for more liquidity to come, but if they wait from 5 years down in the road, maybe it's already too late. Maybe they already be disrupted.
And last week, I got to play your boy, John Ungerlin.
Man, this is the man right here. He's the man. He's that dude.
For commerce and for storage and service of wealth. But the banking leaders out there and the local financial services leaders out there have to get educated and get plugged in. And great companies like Metallicus and us are out there to do that and keep them plugged into that future of money.
Awesome. We're nearing the end of my questions, but John, John and John, any final words here?
Well, I think, one, I'll reiterate, getting in the game is very important, and there's a lot of momentum and energy, and we're here to be great stewards, and we're here to help accelerate that. But, I think my biggest fear is, you used to think you've got 3 to 5 to 7 years to kind of think this through. That's no longer the case. So, staying on the sideline is not an option.
Yeah, I would echo that. I would say I hear all too often that, hey, maybe in 5 to 10 years, this would be real. And that's a really dangerous mentality. I liken it to this idea that there was a point in time when the Blockbuster executives confronted statistics that said, hey, 5% of people are now streaming movies. And they scoffed at that. But mathematically, if you're looking at a 5% per month,
Right. So they were talking about how.
Yeah, we got to let him finish that last part because that's a great comparison. So if it was just 5% and then Blockbuster literally just got wiped, right? Just done, every single location, toast.
Yeah.
Cooked.
Yeah, I don't know why TV payments always gives my computer a hard time. But regardless, while that's loading, bro, this just goes hand in hand with what Marshall recently said too. And he talks about how we're entering into this era where you're going to be able to be your own line of credit. You're going to be able to put your assets to work. You're going to be able to lend out your assets, borrow against them in a safe, efficient, and effective manner. And that's going to be the reality that we're headed into. But then mind you, we're trying to show you guys that all these large institutions just showed you on stage, individual gentlemen saying they're going to need to earn yield, showed you examples from the likes of BitGo, Vivo Power, what Ripple's talking about behind the scenes, what just was announced, right? I want to actually read this for you guys, but listen to what Marshall Hayner here says.
Right? Young people get these cards, they get in over their heads on the debt. And if you think about in the future, what would happen in a credit-based system? What would happen in a system where, instead of borrowing against money that you don't have, you borrow against the crypto that you do have or something? And that's really kind of the advent of decentralized finance. I think, what was missing in this was the compliance components, the digital identity, the anti-money laundering built into the blockchain technology itself. That was the piece that was needed to integrate with traditional financial services. You look at credit cards, and unfortunately.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, bro. I mean, he's explaining metal blockchain. All that is built into the chain, so into the entire ecosystem.
And
yeah,
he's not the only one screaming that, though. The thing is that the largest organizations in the game are telling you guys, look, posting digital assets as collateral is one of the biggest use cases. One of the biggest use cases for XRP. It's going to be one of the biggest use cases for Bitcoin. It's going to be one of the biggest use cases for any digital asset that is going to be utilized in the future.
And real world assets too. I'll
and
say.
real world assets. Literally anything. I mean, we're going to be able to post anything of value for collateral in the future.
Demand out there.
Yeah. I think also just the practical deployment, when you see these on-chain assets start to be used as collateral and they're facilitating other on-chain activities, then it's not just adoption for the sake of testing it out and buying and holding, but it's actual use cases. And if you think about a CLO, that's a really interesting product. If that comes on chain and then the cash flows behind it, because at any given moment, a CLO is holding a lot of cash, just kind of the nature of the product. If it's holding that in a treasury fund and you've kind of completed the loop there, I think some of that adoption going from kind of initial testing to use cases is going to be fun to see.
So I just like that she said posting assets as collateral is going to be an official use case. So just I like confirmation like that, so people don't think that we're just like these two dudes with dreadlocks and fucking tattoos that don't know what they're talking about. It's like a hello, and that's not just coming from us. That's coming from the likes of this gentleman here. This is one of Aqua's favorite homeboys right here.
Approximately, as I mentioned to you, the one right to win that DTCC has in this model is we are the record keeper for quadrillions of dollars of transactions, but for fundamentally assets under record, approximately $100 trillion worth of assets. So unilaterally, without the need to engage anyone else, we can actually make it possible to tokenize $100 trillion worth of value. No one else can do that efficiently. So we have both a right and a responsibility to do that effectively for the financial markets, because it unlocks so much among those things that it unlocks. So we're building out those rails to do that, to make it so that parties can, within seconds, convert any traditional holding into token form to conduct transactions. But tokens themselves really aren't game changers. They're just another database, a database with benefits to be sure, but just another database in the end. It's actually what you can do with tokens that makes the big difference. And the foundational transaction in finance is collateral. So most people think liquidity really comes from trading activity, that's what makes a difference, my ability to convert dollars to shares of Tesla. Yeah, that's important, but by far that's a drop in the bucket compared to transactions in liquidity that have to do with borrowing and lending. So there are transactions, repurchase agreements are the way that banks get liquidity. So they take assets, high quality assets like treasuries, and when they need cash, they post them as collateral and borrow cash from one another in a model called repurchase agreements or repos. That transaction is the most dominant transaction of any globally on a daily basis. Over $20 trillion a day. I think it's even more than that. But anyway, roughly that amount is in that transaction. Well, it turns out blockchain is the perfect technology.
So he's literally talking about how these institutions with their treasuries, mind you, key vocabulary, because what did I show you? Vivo Power, BitGo, the dude on stage telling you guys these institutions are going to do this. What happened? XRP centric treasury for yield generation. You guys, come on now. This is not this is what the banks are going to be doing. They're not focused on where XRP's price is going to go like all these retail traders. They're focused on making that money, putting that asset to work, utilizing it in this new digital era.
Bro, he said 100 trillion they can tokenize. Bro, 3.6 trillion is the market cap right now in crypto. Peanuts. 100 trillion? Jesus. I can only imagine. Jesus, man.
I said over on Snips to wrap this spiel up, I said, this is one of the biggest announcements, this announcement with Ripple and GT Treasury in the digital asset and TradFi convergence story to date. And here's why. The core of traditional finance runs on collateral and yield generation. You now know that hearing from the DTCC. He literally said that trading is a drop in the bucket compared to collateral. Institutions don't just sit on massive piles of cash. They constantly deploy that capital into repo markets, money market funds, and short-term instruments to earn yield while maintaining liquidity. And for decades, that has been the backbone of how treasuries operate, not holding idle cash, but making every dollar work. Well, what Ripple's acquisition of G Treasury signals and what other organizations and protocols are building in this space is that this exact logic, the heartbeat of institutional capital markets, is now moving on chain. This is huge because the biggest use case for institutions is not holding crypto, y'all. It is transforming idle assets into active, productive capital using new digital infrastructure. And so if we come over here and we read this, it says, I'm just going to read the highlights. This is from October 16, 2025. Ripple and G Treasury's capabilities together bring the best of both worlds, so Treasury and finance teams can finally put their trapped capital to work, processes payments instantly, and open up new growth opportunities. As the financial world shifts towards digital assets, it will accelerate. Fortune 500 CFOs and treasuries need to be equipped to manage stablecoins, tokenized deposits, and other assets at scale. There's them right there trying to hide crypto. It says, and other assets at scale. They fucking know, you guys. Okay?
They tucked that one.
Ripple's acquisition of G Treasury brings digital asset infrastructure and decades of treasury expertise to help customers move, manage, optimize liquidity. There's that same vocab word, liquidity optimization, in real time. Ripple and G Treasury will focus on enabling customers to unlock idle capital, tap into a multi-trillion-dollar global repo market via prime brokered hidden road, earning more on short-term assets. And then do you guys remember what me and Aqua showed you guys months ago? When this one video, this is the only video, me and Aqua called this out. This is not by coincidence. Out of all of Paris Blockchain Week 6 months ago, the only video that they released was of Monica Long sitting on stage saying that their acquisition of Hidden Road was going to blast institutional DeFi into the stratosphere, right?
Monica. Or one of the largest as the non-bank prime brokers, and this is a big deal. It's $1.225 billion.
What does it mean?
Thank you.
What does it mean for Ripple's business? Because you've been on a path to really diversify the business beyond kind of how you started in payments, and there's custody, stable coins now, and so.
We can't hear it, bro.
You can't hear it?
Yeah, the volume just cut out.
Let me refresh it.
Yeah.
Monica, what is it?
Yeah, that's an exciting build-up. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Arjun. Largest as the non-bank prime brokers, and this is a big deal. It's $1.225 billion.
What does it mean?
Thank you.
What does it mean for Ripple's business? Because you've been on a path to really diversify the business beyond kind of how you started in payments, and there's custody, stable coins now, and so what does this add to the Ripple business?
It's all coming together. So we've talked for a long while about institutional decentralized finance. Many of us here talk about institutions coming into the world of blockchain and DeFi. And this is going to blast that into a new milestone, kind of a new stratosphere. So the idea.
Back to this, and I'll wrap it up here. It says, now by joining Ripple, this is from G Treasury, we are accelerating our vision from managing capital to activating it. So they're literally in the process as well of shifting their mindset. And it says all of this is taking place in the new digital economy. And then this is the last video clip I want to share. This is of Sandy Call, head of innovation at Franklin Templeton, trying to enlighten people to get them to see that staking, earning yield, looping strategies, these are all new technologies that we're going to have to adapt to, but you should be doing it and integrating it into your knowledge base now, right? So listen to what she says here, how staking, running nodes, everyone's going to be doing it.
Tokenized side where you're taking real world assets, bonds, securities, whatever. Tell me a little bit about the crypto native side. Are you looking to launch strategies there? I think you already have a number of different strategies. How do you approach that? And then is there a point where you bring them all together for your clients?
Yeah, so great questions as always. So on the crypto native side, right, we built our tokenized money market fund. As I said, we launched it in April of 2021. And of course, we had to launch it on a blockchain, right? And by launching it on a blockchain, that meant we had to hold the cryptocurrency of that blockchain in our corporate treasury so that we had that cryptocurrency available to pay for the block space that we were utilizing in registering our transactions on the blockchain. And so we started holding these cryptocurrencies. And then we were like, well, if we're going to hold these cryptocurrencies, we really need to be part of these verification networks and the nodes. And so we started verifying our own transactions and receiving the rewards, which helped to mitigate any deflationary aspects of.
Hold on, bro. So that's now the second large organization that I have shown you guys today admitting verbal proof that they are participating in node operations and staking to generate yield. And mind you, Franklin Templeton is an SEC registered organization, licensed and regulated fully in the United States.
100%.
She just admitted that they hold the tokens too.
Yeah. Don't sleep on becoming a validator right now, especially on metal. Do not sleep on it. Don't sleep.
Of the coins that we were holding. And we were like, these environments are kind of amazing, right? Like we were able to deploy technology at speeds that were just unbelievable to a legacy big enterprise organization. We had the support of the developers on these blockchains that came in with such creative solutions and were able to really coalesce around what we were trying to build and use smart contracts to help us in all of this coding. And we were like, oh my God, this is so efficient. Everything is going to be moving here. And so we became very convinced very early on through our own personal experience with what we needed to do. And since then, we have been building out, as I said, the investment teams. But what we've also been building out is this whole set of knowledge around what are the key models, right? So staking, we're going to be offering staking in some of the ETFs that we're providing. That's a digitally native function. You look at things like the recursive yield, that's a digitally native function. We're looking today at digital asset treasuries and really understanding the role that digital asset treasuries play as a new type of entrant in the infrastructure of building out these treasuries and reserves, because these are not companies today, these blockchains, they're protocols. And so having these companies now engaged gives more certainty to the demand side of the equation for the underlying assets. And so we're learning to work with new counterparties. And yes, we're coming out with brand new strategies that really have not existed before. And, you know, as I am allowed to regulatorily, I will be happy to come back and speak with them individually. But we have a number of new things that are launching in addition to our tokenized money market fund. But what we're also doing, Chris, is we're using these new rails to do things that nobody has done before, right? So you had mentioned earlier.
They're about to bring so much liquidity to chain. It's not even funny. The amount of opportunity that she, like staking opportunities that she just mentioned. And then what's crazy is we've heard her on stage mention meme coins. She doesn't even mention it in this talk track. So I wonder what's going on that side too.
The crazy thing, again, for just people to wrap their mind around is that you have to understand. So you got an onset of influencers that are telling you, oh, don't participate in DeFi, don't do staking, don't do this, don't do that. But here is a regulated entity with many more credentials than probably 99.999% of people on social media right now telling you guys about the markets. Tell you that not only did they participate in staking and node providing and actually holding the digital asset that they're using for their treasuries, right? But she just openly admitted that they are starting to build new strategies that have never existed before, you guys. So what, as a retail investor, do you think we should be freaking doing?
The writing is on the wall, my friends. The writing
Drop
is on
the
the
mic.
wall.
I'm done. Friday podcast is over. If you can't see it after this one.
Man, yo, Sandy's the best, man. She fancy too. I like that chain she's wearing. It's diamond out. I don't know if you can see it, but those are real diamonds on her chain for sure.
Yeah,
so.
for sure, bro. She's bling blinging it, you know. With her credentials, man, she's probably a driver comes and picks her up when she wants to go out.
Yeah, that's real. In a Phantom Rolls Royce or something. Yeah, facts.
Yeah. So that's the podcast for today, guys and gals. Again, it's not to diminish anybody's intelligence. It's just to help wake you guys up not mislead you into believing that we're going to see this happen overnight, or we're going to see high-end price predictions, or that $1,000 XRP is going to be what saves you. None of that. All institutional information documented straight from the source, panelists from some of the largest organizations in the game. If you guys want to lock in with us in the CyberX private community, first off, if you want to see how we're earning yield on our digital assets, head over to cyberxtrading.com, tap into the Wealth 28 Club. You guys don't have to risk your hard-earned crypto if that doesn't float your boat right now. You can watch us do it. You have over 200 video breakdowns step-by-step going over how to do that, how we are exposing our crypto in the digital asset ecosystem. So that way you can take notes, you can learn, you can see some of our trials and tribulations, protocols we like, protocols we've tested, protocols we don't use anymore, protocols we do use, this, and that. It's right there. Test it out for a month. You don't like it? Cancel it. You like it? Stay, because we're constantly uploading content every single week here. If you guys want to dig into any of the research that we discussed and talk about on any of the channels or platforms that we are on, head over to the CyberX Discord. I'm not even joking. It's literally probably the best research facility for non-mainstream crypto institutional backed research. Documents, panel discussions that nobody's watching, all the content that everybody should be digesting, but for some odd reason is never digesting, is inside the CyberX Discord. Again, try it out for a month. You don't like it? Cancel. Guarantee you will. Go ahead. And I guarantee you'll learn something, and you'll likely stay, and you'll grow, and you'll expand, and you'll really see how we here are way ahead of most retail participants. Go ahead, Aqua.
Yeah, this Discord, honestly, don't sleep on it. Real talk. And the access to the Zoom calls that you will have weekly, I'm telling you, this Discord, you know, although me and Cypress are best friends, we're business partners, this Discord alone, just personally, has changed my whole entire just view in crypto and life in crypto. So don't sleep on this. Act now, join, start changing your life now, because the time is now. You want to start learning this stuff now. And the Zoom calls are beyond powerful. Some of the most powerful conversations happen in those Zoom calls. In the Wealth 28 Club, you'll have access to my Zoom calls that I run every Thursday, but to have access to that Zoom call, plus all of Cypress's Zoom calls, plus Kev's Zoom call, plus, you know, Carlton's Zoom calls that he be running, there is so much alpha. Like this community, you might find yourself a new home in this Discord. So I hope to see you guys on the inside.
Most people do. We have people that have been in our community for 4 years plus. So family, man. So I want to end it here. Aqua, you can hop off if you want, but I want to read everybody listening our report. Again, you have access to these reports by tapping in with us in the CyberX Discord. I wake up every morning, check fundamentals, write a fundamental report, and then same thing in the evening. If anything needs to be updated, I update the private community with an updated fundamental report of everything that's ongoing in the market that's currently weighing on sentiment or supporting market sentiment. So that way we can, as a team and as a community, accurately decipher what's happening to keep our mentality in check, to understand strategies, to really get a zoomed out perspective of what's happening. So I'm going to read this and then I will end the stream. But starting here, I said, and this is again an explanation of why we've seen the market shed roughly about $720 billion from the top in October, right? So these are just some of, not all of, but some of the ongoing events taking shape in the global market sentiment that is currently and recently weighed on risk assets. So the total market lost roughly around $80 billion. This was yesterday, mind you, okay, because this is our 16th report, giving back some of the recovery momentum seen after the massive liquidation event earlier in the week. This weakness isn't a result of a single catalyst. It's a combination of several macroeconomic and geopolitical factors that are all weighing on risk sentiment at the same time. When you break it down, the current environment is one of sticky inflation, resilient labor data for now, policy uncertainty from major central banks, geopolitical tensions, and political dysfunction in the US, all of which lean risk off. So first, the Fed, market hopes versus economic reality. Markets have recently been pricing in a series of Federal Reserve rate cuts through the end of the year, but the economic data coming out, it doesn't fully support that view. So here you guys can see I always provide screenshots and I always give annotations of where I'm getting this information from. You can see one of the highlights from the Manufacturing Business Outlook survey that just recently took place. Says here, the firms continue to indicate an overall increase in employment and widespread increases in prices. Here's another report that also took place from October 2nd to October 9th. It says here, employment expands, right? These are all vocabulary words that are not supportive of aggressive easing from the Federal Reserve. It says here, the index for the number of employees moved up to 6.2%, suggesting employment increased modestly. Then it also mentioned that firms anticipate ongoing price increases are set to continue. Down here, it mentions despite the high inflation expectations, economists say the Federal Reserve would still deliver another interest rate cut at its October 28th to 29th meeting. So the recent manufacturing survey shows that firms are still reporting widespread price increases and ongoing hiring, signaling that inflationary pressures have not subsided. Wells Fargo and their inflationary forecasts also point to headline CPI near 3.1% year over year, with goods inflation expected to stay elevated as tariffs filter through and energy prices remain firm. And here's that Wells Fargo report. By the way, mind you, I don't know about you guys or any other influencer communities that you're in, but I wake up daily and read these bank reports. So that way my community doesn't have to, and I digest the information and write a report. So that way people understand what the institutional money is doing and what they're looking at. And you can see it says right here, the government shutdown may have altered the September CPI release date, but it hasn't changed the stubborn state of inflation. We estimate headline CPI rose to 0.4% last month, underpinned by a jump in energy prices, which would lift the year-over-year rate to a 16-month high of 3.1%. Core inflation likely rose 0.3% for the consecutive third month, holding the year-over-year rate steady at 3.1%. Beneath the surface, we expect good inflations to stay elevated due to continued tariff pass-throughs, while an easing in primary shelter costs should help cool services inflation. Setting aside the near-term data challenges, sticky inflation still persists. We expect inflation to hold near a 3% annualized pace through mid-2026. So what if that was to be the case? What if inflation, you guys, have you asked yourself the question, comes out in such a way in the data reports that requires the Fed to hold interest rates for a prolonged period of time? Well, guess what that means, y'all? Bye-bye interest rate premium being priced in at a discount, which is exactly what has been pumping up the markets, especially in crypto a lot recently, is this expectation that major central banks, including the Fed, are going to be able to continue to stimulate and ease the economy. If that's put on hold, then the rally that we've likely seen is be put on hold as well.
Possibly going lower.
Possibly go lower, especially if inflation took a turn and started coming out way more elevated. Like, for example, if I don't think it's going to happen, but if the ongoing tariff war continues and tariffs are solidified higher, what inflation looks like after that, that would probably lead to the Fed, in a worst case scenario, having to hike rates, right? And people don't account for that. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but it is possible. And if you want to be a part of a community that tracks these things, so that way when they happen, you know, and you're not one of those misinformed retail traders, it's like, oh my gosh, why is my portfolio bleeding? Then lock in with us, you guys. On top of that, labor market data has been steady rather than weakening. Sharply, the Fed itself noted that economic activity is little changed and employment is largely stable. This combination is problematic for aggressive easing. If upcoming inflation data comes in hotter than expected, or if labor market releases show less weakness than the markets are currently anticipating, the Fed may be forced to slow or scale back the pace of expected rate cuts. Economists still expect a cut at the October 28th through 29th FOMC meeting, but sticky inflation or any upbeat labor data could make the path after that less certain. Risk assets, including crypto, have been leaning on the idea of an easing cycle, so any repricing of that expectation can pressure markets. On the Japanese front, which right now is a potential wild card, on the other side of the world, the Bank of Japan has become another source of uncertainty. Governor Ueda has stated that the Bank of Japan is prepared to tighten policy further if economic data supports their inflation outlook. Though the central bank is still gathering information ahead of its October 29th through 30th policy meeting, this comes after Japan exited its decade-long monetary experiment and raised rates to 0.5% earlier this year, marking a significant policy shift. If the Bank of Japan moves again or adopts a more hawkish tone, it could strengthen the yen, unwind carry trades, and trigger a broad risk-off move across global markets, something that crypto is typically sensitive to, as we have all seen back in July 2024, when the yen unwinding happened and it shocked global risk assets, and the total cryptocurrency market shed $740 billion. Look it up, July 31st through August 2nd, that week of price action in crypto, right? What the catalysts were as to why the market pulled back that week. The US government shutdown and trade tensions are also going on. The US government shutdown is now dragging into its third week, delaying key data releases and eroding investor confidence. Without clear economic data, markets are essentially flying blind, which amplifies uncertainty. At the same time, the US-China trade tensions remain unresolved. Rhetoric has escalated and tariff threats are still on the table. While there is hope for a meeting between President Trump and President Xi later this month, analysts expect at best an extension of the current trade truce rather than a sweeping agreement. Here's again some of the screenshots from the information that I gathered for the community. Now, if these tariff threats turn into actual policy, it would represent a clear downside risk for market sentiment. We've also seen geopolitical developments between the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine. So another important headline came from the geopolitical forefront. Former President Trump announced that he will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin in Budapest for a second round of in-person talks amid the potential ending of the war in Ukraine. The outcome of these talks could swing sentiment in either direction. A credible move towards de-escalation could be positive for risk appetite, but any signs of stalling or renewed hardline messaging would likely or simply reinforce the current cautious tone. U.S. stocks last week also ended the day lower, or this week, weighed down, this is again yesterday, weighed down by worries over regional banks, loan quality, persistent trade tensions, and the government shutdown. Chip makers provided some temporary optimism earlier on in the session, as I mentioned in the Zoom call, but it wasn't enough to offset the broader concerns. This weakness in equities consists with the broader tone of uncertainty in crypto, as a high beta asset class tends to follow suit. The current environment is defined by inflation that's proving harder to bring down, a labor market that's not weakening as quickly as the market had hoped, uncertainty around central bank policy paths, especially from the Fed and the Bank of Japan, and persistent geopolitical and trade risks. Together, these are the factors creating a risk-off backdrop that favors gold and other safe haven assets, as you can see reflected in the price of gold reaching new all-time highs week after week after week. At least until the data or geopolitical landscape starts to improve, for now, the market remains in a risk-off rotation. We need to be watching for the next major data release or policy signal. If inflation and labor data surprise on the upside, or if trade tensions escalate, we could see a deeper correction across risk assets. Conversely, if there's credible progress on inflation, geopolitical de-escalation, or a resolution of the shutdown, that could stabilize the current sentiment. So how am I personally positioning for this? Again, not financial advice. I'm accumulating selective assets on weakness. I'm personally biased towards high-quality blue-chip crypto assets with real network cash flows for adoption, meaning I can put the asset to work. I'm maintaining dry powder exposure, so I'm still building out my stablecoin portfolio, and I'm preparing capital on DEXs to react if we go lower, meaning decentralized exchanges, because we've all most recently probably realized that in times of high volatility, centralized exchanges usually don't allow you to purchase an asset or purchase an asset at the accurate price. And I said, last but not least, yield matters. I'm compounding on-chain, harvest, and redeploying prudently so that my bag grows through the volatility, even if prices continue lower. So again, today's $80 billion slide, remember this was yesterday, reflects a market that wants to believe in rate cuts, but keeps getting reminded that inflation is sticky, jobs are not collapsing yet, and policy, i.e. geopolitical risks, still remain alive. Until those headwinds ease, expect choppy price action with a defensive bias and use it to build intelligently and not chase. So that's my report. That's my spiel. Me and Aqua are always shooting gems out to you guys. Hopefully you all enjoy your weekend. Remain productive. Be cognizant. Be aware out there. Aqua, bro, that's all that I got for the people. If you have anything for them.
Nah, much love to everybody that tapped in. Much love to my kiddos. I know they're watching. They wanted a little shout out. So, but yeah, Much love.
That's cool. Did you just blush, bro? You just blushed, dude. You just
Man,
fucking-
my kids are my everything. You know that, bro. Same with you, bro. My
I
son
love
said
it,
to
man.
My daughter was like pointing at the TV, like, "Oh, it's daddy right there."
Big things are coming, my man. Big things are coming. So yeah, blessings to you guys. Everybody take it easy. Have a good, productive weekend, and we'll see you guys next Friday. You guys have a good one.
Much love, everybody.